done. We'll do pretty quick quarterfinal and final, just to have some high stakes matches and try to understand the difference of those kind of more exciting matches at the end. So I'm gonna get out of everyone's way.
Just a remark, so the toilets are next to the stairs. You don't need to leave these stairs. If you need to leave anyway, there is a ground and glass that you can put yourself out.
C'est bon? Après, vous n'êtes pas obligé de me filmer, hein, c'est pas grave. Je sais pas trop ce que je veux dire. C'est bon, t'es dans la boîte. C'est sûr, tu peux éteindre, hein. Tu peux éteindre. So, let's start. Thanks Bordeaux for making me talk in the first place. I didn't prepare anything, to be honest. So, yesterday Benny told me I have to talk about deontology. So I just watched Wikipedia yesterday. So what deontology is. So mainly it's for advocate or medicine or things like that. It's more about the, say, some notes, sorry for my English. Not the best. It's about ethics, but by Polo we can find some ethics things, but it's more, yeah.
If I may jump in there, because I've been studying philosophy, basically deontology means the science of science or the science of being. So it's about the metaphysics of
things.
So it's about what are the wordings and what's the deeper sense of things.
Yeah, and what we want for the sport. What sport we want to play.
Why do we do things? Why do we do things that way?
And what we have to do to make the sport we want.
Yeah, also, what are things we are used to? Do we want this? Do we need to keep this? Like asking these questions.
Yeah, that's it. And mainly, so it's to talk about and make the rules for the sport we want to play, I think. Yeah. And or you interpret the rules when you are a ref. Like I said to my kids, there is the rule and how you use it. I think, I don't know if it's the point, but that's how I interpret deontology. And I can talk about this. I won't talk about the rules because I don't really know the rule set, to be honest. But I always try to ref, even knowing all the rules, because refing is not knowing the rules point to point like Martin can do or other refs, but it's more how you interpret the rules to make the games beautiful to watch, secure to play, and with everything you want to make the sport clean. So you have to just be impartial when you, I don't know the word in English, impartial, and try to do your best when you're reffing. I'm not the best for that, so I more try to talk about my vision about the sport right now and what I think about the future. I organize a lot of tourneys, so I figure out some issues. We can, sorry, I don't know the word, that issue you can fix with new rules or adapting rules. So to talk, I think today the first thing is to think about what we want for the sport, what we need for the sport to develop it. Like say Bernie, the rules is the main things to make a sport better and with more people. Maybe we just want more players, more infrastructure, more money, more diversity. We can do what you want, what we want. That's the point. We are the Polo community. We make the rules. We make our own sport, so it's quite comfortable. But it's good to do that, to maybe take another level for the sport. Vernie talk about committee. Maybe we are talking about the rules, but that include and impact also the global organization of the sport. In France, we are trying to rebuild a committee to organize the championship, to organize the rules, to help the clubs to develop themselves. Maybe we need to talk about something for Europe, from a European committee. We can take money when we organize a European championship. We can give money for the EHBA committee for developing new things. It's not page blanche, you know what you say, because some players work alone to make this beautiful rule set. We need to improve it, but it's a new start, I think, maybe. So I forgot to thank all the players who write the actual rules. I don't know them at all. I don't really know who do the rules. Maybe Alejandro, Bella brothers. I don't know, Vincent, Joanna, Django, Martin. I think maybe American players. Thanks to them. But now we need to, I think, do things better. So, la 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 la. Sorry.
That's your point.
Just read it yesterday in my bed, so it's confused in my head. Yeah, so what I wanted to do is, or say, it's the rules affect and interfere in every sphere of the bike polo, the way you play, and for me, the way you organize a tourney. So you can have rules on the sport for the contact, the security, but maybe also for l'ouverture du sport, on organization of tourney and everything. The rules impact everything around bike polo, so it's important to think about it to ameliorate the tourney. Maybe actually we only use tourney on 2 days with 12, 40 teams on one court, 60-minute games. Maybe we need to think about something new, like a league with small, less teams for longer games on one day. Everything can make the sport better. Maybe it's the case, maybe not, but I think we are here to talk about this and find some good things to make also the game and the tourneys better. Like Annie say, last weekend in Montpellier, she played at 8 or 9 and then at 12. I don't know if it's the best way to be in a good way when you play your second match after 3 hours waiting around the court. So maybe we can also think about that, and the rules can ameliorate these things. I don't know what you say in English. Improve, yeah, improve. Thanks. So I talk about my experience and what I want for the sport, what is my vision. And for an example, I like the club spirit. You know, I think it's good. I come from football, so when you play a tourney or match, it's with your team. You have your t-shirt team. Yeah, Perpignan. And you play with Perpignan. And by Polo, it's different. You can play with from Lyon, from Berlin, from Saragossa, and you make a team for one tourney. And it's good for some things to improve the players, to have competitive tourney, but for me, the club is the place where you can improve players to be better and come to tourney and maybe some leagues. So maybe we need to also think about this, how you can improve the new players, the Pinta players. Maybe we can play players or 5 players, I don't know, but it's a way I want to improve the sport. Like Montpellier make a good t-shirt too. Always play together, Bordeaux too, but maybe make something official in the rules. I don't know if it's a good way to have more inclusivity.
Question, est-ce qu'à Perpignan, pendant les pick-ups d'entraînement, vous avez de l'arbitrage qui est strict comme au tournoi?
No. When there is a foul, sometimes we stop the game, like we want to do today, to explain some rules to the newbie, but most of the time we don't whistle anything. But we are really clean club. We don't make any foul.
Physiquement, on n'a pas aussi la possibilité d'être à un emplacement central pour voir le match aussi. Ça fluidifie pas forcément aussi cette initiative-là.
Quoi qu'une des pôles pour nous, c'est que it'd be interesting that from the takeaway from this is the more we ref at pickups, it's just like training for the tournament as well. You play at pickups because you want to win the tournament. You ref at pickups because you want to ref at the tournament. And this is a culture that's also lacking in Bordeaux. It's very hands off. Here we go. You know, it's not tac 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 au démarrage, getting things in line the way we want it in an event. And I think if we all practice and promote a serious arbitration in our pickups, that will reflect very quickly on how competent your players will be when they go to an event and contribute in the organization.
Yeah, we just take the time, like I think in most of the clubs.
Yeah.
Take the time.
I think it's like most clubs lacking on this. I don't think it's just like either Bordeaux or like I've seen this pattern throughout all of the clubs I've gone through or played at, and like it's a constant, right? That for whatever reason we're not promoting this as actually part of like I guess an obligatory, let's say, part of like becoming or being part of this kind of sport. And for sure, like if we promote that as a community, because I don't think it's like an individual thing, it's like a community-based thing, right? So yeah. I don't think it's a club, it's a particular club that does it.
No,
It's like everybody around the world, well, at least from my experience, at least.
And that's why I want to promote the clubs teams, because maybe in the pickup you don't play pickup, but you play your teams for the championship of the year. And so it's a tough game, and you can ref it, and you can do it like one time a week, 2 times a week, and make chilling games with no rules, but one at a time. You make the teams of the clubs, make tough games with the reffing, and you can stop the whistle and explain things. I think it's the way we should promote.
No.
That's why I also think about the club spirit, really, in the club teams.
And I'll probably expand on what you're saying today, tomorrow with my presentation, but something I just wanted to like stand out is the fact that like I strongly consider that like polo is not like an individual game, hence like to expect that somebody else will take part on knowing the rules and reffing and like somebody else will, because that happens a lot, right? Like we don't, as a collective, sometimes we don't decide on being good at reffing because there is someone else who does it, or like the authoritarian point of view of like who is able or unable to ref because they know more about it or because they've been in the sport for so many years or whatnot. So like to make those spaces to invite people to be part of it as like a collective responsibility, that's
Yeah, I think it's the
Pour la traduction en français, juste très vite fait, on parle du fait que l'arbitrage a sa place à être promoté et appris par chaque individu qui apprend à jouer le sport. Et c'est à travers les clubs qu'on va aussi travailler ça. Apprendre à arbitrer, c'est important parce nous, à notre niveau, on arbitre tous à un moment donné, soit au bord du terrain, au milieu, au centre, etc. Et du coup, quand on a des nouveaux venants et quand on apprend le sport, veut que l'apprentissage et l'appréciation de l'arbitrage soient en parallèle.
Yeah, we need more implication of the new players. It's the only sport where the oldest player and the best player are always reffing. I don't know any sport where the best player are reffing. Most of the time, it's not the best player. They know the philosophy of the sport, know how to make it beautiful to watch and to play, but not the best player. But in bike polo, it's always the oldest player and the best player ref. And when you arrive to the final, it's difficult to find a good ref. So yeah, and to take what she said, we are now more an individual game. Like I say, you can play with every player of every city individually, and I think to improve the sport, we need more group feelings, club identity, and maybe that can help the newbie to s'impliquer more on reffing, on playing, on going to tourney without the old players. I think it's the same in every club. So that's why I like the club spirit. So and so like I said, the rules is the sport and interfere everything, and we can think about what we want. Maybe we want more security, and or we can make new rules or adapt old rules to have more security during a game. Like, for example, we talked yesterday with Benji about the 3 meters behind the ball and the space. You are in position of the ball, but if the ball is 3 meters from your mallet, you're not in position of the ball. So, but you can today make a screen for a player who arrive with speed. You take a screen, you do a T-bone, it's really dangerous, and I think it's a bullshit. Maybe we can think about some things to adapt rules pour éviter this kind of fouls, crazy fouls, or even when there is the ball on the wall, the player playing this on the left side, the player arrive and put the shoulder strike, but you can't play the ball. So what's the point? Just want to hurt the players, I think. So maybe I think about something with the space. You can play the ball. If the ball is not in the distance of the mallet, you can't do anything. You can't take a strike, you can't make a screen if you can't touch the ball with the mallet. I don't know how you can.
So this would have an impact. On page 13, there was a rule about bike interference. And bike interference is, as we know, blocking or screening players that don't have possession of the ball. The idea is that in our sport, mechanically, the possessor of the ball has special rules applied to it. You can do things to the possessor of the ball that you can't do to the person that doesn't have the ball. So a referee is constantly deciding who is in possession, if possession is clear, or if there is no possession. Because restarts and fouls and things all have to do with possession. So we need to clearly define and understand what possession means. And we have problems with our rules. If we look on page 13, a penalty for bike interference is not issued if the nearest player to a loose ball utilizes bike interference within approximately 3 meters of the loose ball to safely gain possession. That means that the ball's in front of me and you're behind me. I'm going to do a crazy wide swing. And if you're a good player, you'll pump the brakes and not fall. If you're a bad player, you're going to crash on me. And that's allowed for me. Now, the problem that...
Safely.
Yeah, and thus the word safely is the powerful word here. Because players will do it and say, it's against the rules. And you say, safely. Look at it. He's on the ground. So this is a tool we have. safety is a priority in order to clarify and justify making calls that on text might conflict with the understanding of a player who's trying to optimize their technique. Now, the problem with this particular line, as Tristan's talking about, he's talking about the zone of play. Because if you are the player that is closest to the ball, but you don't have possession, why do you enjoy the rights of one who has possession of the ball? So we have to consider this, and this is going to be the labor of all of us together. How we can more clearly define possession or reach to the ball in order to play the mallet, because I can reach the ball. I can play the body because I can reach the ball. These kinds of rules are going to simplify the rules. We want to take one idea that exists elsewhere and make it a normal thing for all of the different kinds of infractions.
Yeah,
Sorry, if I can add to what Bernard just mentioned, and I do strongly believe that that's why my presentation will link with what you're saying today, and I'll be coming back to it. Because for me, again, if we use the word safely or safety or the word safe,
you can't use that word on rules, I think.
So the thing is that, like, you might ask, like, so what is safety? What is safe? Some people will say it's common sense, but then, like, common sense is not really common sense. It's very subjective, right? And then again, so we're back at square one, which would be like, what are the ethics of the game, right? Like, so to what extent does this sport have a sort of ethical way of playing, and to, like, let's say, take care of the players in a sense, make sure that their safety means what? Like, not killing the player, not injuring the player, not disappearing the player, not, right? So I'll probably, like, ask you tomorrow to be part of my presentation in a way where we can, like, go back to, like, ethics and the deontology of the game whatsoever. But yeah, basically, what is safety? Like, to what extent do we all understand safety as such?
Too many interpretations, so it's really hard to ref this kind of situation. You have to clear to ref more comfortably. I think it's easy. The player is not in the place he can touch the ball. If he touches the player, it's foul. Like, sounds clear. Maybe not. Maybe we can see on games today or tomorrow. But yeah, I think we have to be more clear to ref better and with less interpretation of safety, or even there is a lot of words on the rule set we can argue and discuss for sure. So yeah, and another rule I'm attached to, I think we need more goals by Polo and more easy goals for new players. Sometimes when you have a newbie at the training, he puts months or weeks to put his first goal on the game. And I think just to put the ball with the little circle, it's too hard. Maybe you can open the goals to everything, even foot. I like the foot shoot, but not really. But I want to introduce shuffle goals, wheel goals, shaft goals, not just by mon envie, but to make the sport easier to everybody and mainly for the beginners. I think the old players, the strong players always shoot the easier way to score. A shuffle is not easy to put a shuffle except without open goals. But why you can't put a goal with the shuffle or with the wheel? I don't know. I don't really understand. I talked with old players about that. It's just for the style. Okay.
Well,
maybe we can make a rule for the style, but
if I can interject about that, parlons du shuffle but. Historiquement, again, each of the laws we can study the history of the law to understand its place and then use it correctly. And the shuffle goal, if we go back in time and think about why we made that goal, it's because does anybody know? Why did we invent the shuffle goal? That's saying that this isn't how you can score. You can't.
No.
So why isn't you can't score a shuffle goal or a raclette goal? It's because it was too easy. That's the same
same thing. The shuffle goal in French, the raclette is like to push the squeegee.
I am another raclette.
That rule was put in place because it was too easy to score that way at the beginnings of the sport. So along with, you can't put your foot on the ground. Like, that'd be silly if you could put your foot on the ground. The other thing that happened in parallel is, and yeah, just pushing it in, you can't do that either. It's way too easy. Today, we're not playing the same sport as those players. And as, you know, referees that are deciding goals that count and goals that are refused, be in the spirit of the game and understand that this technical rule about shuffle goals was for a time when it was easy to score, and it's a bit archaic now, and you have the opportunity, the mobility, the lateral mobility to decide when you want to refuse a goal because of these kinds of reasons. And as the sport moves forward, we would need to find a way to make this make more sense. For example, Tristan, it wouldn't be cool to add to the rules, now you can score with the shaft, another line with the rules. What we want to do is figure out what it means to score a goal. And in our rule set, there is a very distinct thing that a player does, and it's called taking a shot. Okay? What happens when you take a shot? You immediately lose possession of the ball, for one, if you shoot. You can't have possession of the ball immediately after shooting. It might bounce back to you and you get it back, but you relinquish possession when you shoot. Okay? Secondly, you can only score if you shot. Or if you do an own goal on your own team, that's another way a goal may be accorded. Or maybe the referee will award a goal for a severe penalty where a goal should have been made because of a down player in front of the goal or something like this. That's another way a point can be made. But if you're a player on the court, the only way you score a goal is by taking a shot first. So what we need to study is, what is a shot? Is it really just hitting it on the round side of your mallet? Or could it also be a deflection of the wheel or the shaft, etc., etc.? Do we want to redefine what a shot is in order to maybe allow more goals to be scored in the sport? These are sensitive matters. The size of a goal is a sensitive matter. Just like in basketball, the size of the hoop, or in soccer, the size of the official goalie's net. These kinds of rules that we decide have a direct impact on how many goals will be scored in a game. Thank you, Tristan.
Thank you, Brandy. That's it. So that's a way of improve the sport, I think. The rules can also affect the inclusivity for sport. Like you said, the sport not the same that when we begin. Now there is a lot of Linta players, and we want to improve them and make them play more. And how we can do it? That's the question. But I think 4 players game, it's easier to make everybody playing the games. But maybe there is other things to think or to try maybe today. But the rules can help the inclusivity of the sport. What I also, and everything I thinking about is on ways to make the reffing easier. Like Bernie said, if you know the rules, if you tap the ball, it's a goal. Whenever you tap the ball, it's easy to ref. There is no, it's a short fall, it's not a short fall. When you tap the ball from the outside, and it's like a concombre shot. It's not a shot, it's a short fall. You tap the ball with the long way, but how you ref this?
We played a tournament in Montpellier with this rule, and what was the feedback?
Of the shuffle?
Community.
Of the shuffle?
Yeah, with the community.
I tried to talk about that with some players, and it's always the same argument. I think the whole players think the shuffle is not beautiful. I think the only
how many shuffle goals were allowed?
I just put one to
Yeah, just to joke.
I was really proud of
Just
it.
to, yeah.
But
what, you know, it was a joke. If you want to make a hard shot, you won't make a short shot. You know?
yeah, but I just arrived behind Quentin Bouchard in the net.
Yeah,
I felt the big shot and put a shuffle
Yeah, I know.
behind his front wheel.
I don't know just what people playing this tournament thought about this new rule and
I don't know if
after 2 days of tournament, 3 days. No, 2 days of tournament was finally okay with shuffle goal.
And we need like the ressenti des new player, I think.
Yeah, because I found it was okay.
Yeah,
More goals,
me too. Yeah.
goals and easier to ref too. Now we have mid-air balls, more and more mid-air balls. With it's impossible to tell if it was a shot or you can hear it. But we won goal, we won beautiful goals, and when we not sure it was the head of the mallet that touched the ball.
If the rule is you tap the ball,
yeah, just say shuffle, but it was still goal.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to allow every goal like this.
I agree.
Easier to ref.
So this means it would also allow scoop goals?
No,
No,
like Bernie say, you have to tap the ball,
Okay.
not carry the ball.
We call this an elastic collision. Elastic collision with the ball is an important defining factor of what we call a shot in the current rules. Of course, I think we can all agree that there is a ceiling we need to put on how a goal can be scored. A scoop goal would be absurd. It would be so easy. There's obviously still limits to what a goal should be, but our question that we want to study during this weekend are where do we want those limits to be, and so invite you all to organize your thoughts about that particular subject.
Even for shuffle, you can't push the ball, you have to tap the ball. It's not the same way to make shuffle.
Au tournoi à Montpellier, il y avait beaucoup de buts finalement.
Bah, moi, je don't think
Pas
so.
tant que ça.
I just
Ouais.
put one.
Ouais.
I put one goal in 7
Tu
games.
humiliant, t'es pour essayer, tu tires avec le pied, machin, etc. Mais en fait, quand tu veux de l'efficacité,
Ouais.
tu vas pas t'amuser à tirer avec
Bah
le
non.
pied. C'est juste que ça, dans certains cas de figure, typiquement, tu lances un gros truc au milieu, tu fais une petite deflection, etc. Là,
ça.
en fait, ça te fait un but, c'est un beau but,
Ouais.
ça a accéléré le jeu.
Mais ça change
Franchement, ça
pas.
a accéléré le jeu de ouf.
Ouais. Mais ça change pas en soi.
Pardon.
Attention à faire en anglais et en français.
Pardon, sinon.
I think one of the reasons why I think to tap is enough as well is probably also that in favor for safety, because probably maybe less hard shots would be made if it would be allowed to tap the ball in order to score as well. So I mean, how often you have this situation, you're in front of the goal and someone else is, I don't know, 5 meters in close to you and kind of hits the ball very hard. And if it's allowed to shuffle or to do the goal in another way, then we would also increase safety on the court.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday in the Benji Telegram too. How a shot is dangerous. If you're in front of a player, you take a big shot, the mallet can go everywhere. Maybe you score or not, just the thing to take the shot. Alors, there is a player just in front of you, it's just a dangerous move. So you can call a foul.
But no one would
but
I mean, no one's
yeah,
doing
no one
it. And
does.
you see it all the time.
I do that in tournaments when I see like someone taking a shot and someone's really close and the follow through it gets like this close to the other player or something, I whistle and people yell at me.
But it's about the swing. And
Yeah,
only the
yeah.
swing. You can even have a very hard shot by not having the high mallet.
Yeah.
And it's still, I would say, I mean, it's not really safe if you hit a ball very hard and in front of the goalie who's just 3 or 4 meters in front of you. And even if you could also tap it and bring it in, like a smart shot.
And maybe the player zone can be a reference too. If you are in the zone of the player, you can take a big shot.
Yeah.
And if you are just 2 meters and you can touch the ball, you can make a big shot. That's way of thinking. That more safety, more goals.
C'est difficile à faire.
Yeah, but just think about it. Just a proposition or ideas, and it's easier. More goals. It's also easier for organization. there is less tie games for during Worlds and European Championship. I think one game on three are ties, or almost. It's too many ties. You can make a good ranking or with this kind of games with too many ties. And if you want to make the tourney shorter, like the last game of the tourney, everybody are exhausted. There is a lot of tie, and the games are during like 1 hour, half an hour. It's too long. So maybe more goals can also help the organization of tourney. It's my own experience of tourney organization. And one maybe last idea. No. No any thought. Yeah, and it's not about the rules, but I think it's more about reffing and organization too. Maybe a part of the rules, but maybe we can also think about tools for reffing and organization, like an Excel sheet, when every ref can note this player made a little foul, strong foul, one goal, and maybe you can accumulate all those data, and if a player make 3 fouls during 2 games, maybe have a 30-second out for the third game or something like that, like in football. If you take 2 yellow cards in 2 games, you don't play the third. And maybe that can help reffing. And I think there is a rule that but there is nothing.
But within the game.
But there is nothing to.
Right. I'm gonna like be ahead of my game as well because I'll propose this tomorrow. But like one of the tools I was gonna propose is, I mean, this might be a bit too much, and I'm not sure how to carry it out. But like, as to being able to know what to do in these situations, but sometimes games are so quick and the falls and everything is so fast that you're unable to decide what actually happened as a ref, or to at least have the backup to see what actually happened. So like one of my proposals would be to have like a video assistant ref, like as in any sort of sport now, that you like can go as a ref back to like the video where the play is replayed, and to make sure what you call it and how to call it, and like, you know. So like in that sense, I believe that down over Polo is like an extremely important tool to like record the games and, you know, be able to go back to that recording and make sure to be able to call whatever it was.
Yeah, sometimes we use the video when someone in the game, and you can say, hey, can you show me the
Exactly.
that happened last week in Montpellier. So yeah, we need more tools for that, for organization, because I know the rule is here. If you make too many fouls, you can have a foul for the next game, but we don't have tools to do that. We don't even read the the wave notes, so we can't count everything. So maybe a tool can help to do these things too.
2 questions for you. First question I was hoping you'd discuss, soit en français ou en anglais, is what are the number 1 priorities that a referee should have in head when they decide that they will participate in refereeing? Like, in terms of what's going on in your head, what do you want to happen? What are the priorities for a referee? And secondly, what are the risks that a referee takes in deciding to be a referee? It's something that's not discussed, but is obvious in other sports. The referee doesn't get in trouble if you, broke your collarbone or something. He's not liable to sue or anything or all the rest. Is there some kind of risks that exist to decide to be a referee that we're not maybe even aware of or don't exist in our events? If anybody has any anecdotes, that'd be interesting. But pour dire en français, quelles sont les vraies priorités de l'arbitre? Et est-ce qu'il y a du danger ou de prise de risque quels sont les risques à prendre en étant arbitre quand on s'engage?
For the first question, I think it's deontology. It's what we want for the game. I think we need to talk about this and maybe define some things with priority, the safety of the player, the beauty of the game, maybe. I don't know, but for me, it's more just to have a good game and no trouble with players. Even if you make a bad call, you just can take the captain and talk about it and say, okay, I'm wrong, but it's yeah, have a good spirit in the game, I think.
Okay.
But we need to define the priority of the ref.
Right. So this is going to be our little activity at the end of Tristan's presentation. I invite you all to start discussing what would be a nice, clear, efficient list in order of importance of ideas that the referee needs to bring to the court. And the examples as you get, you can all discuss and try to figure out what should be, the Bible of this is what a referee does. Safety is the first reason that they're doing it. Fairness of the sport is up there. Fluidity of the sport. Beauty of the sport. Promotion of the sport. These kinds of things all need to be taken into account when a referee approaches the court. So we'll organize your thoughts, and then we'll come back at the next presentation and talk about what we've created.
Yeah. For fluidity, I also have a rule. You can play with flats only. No clip. Not everybody rebound around the board.
Forbidding clip pedals.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Only clipless. Okay, so I think, and for the second question, maybe we have games where the ref était pris à partie, is taking a part, no? By players because they won't agree with the rules, and the problem is you just can discuss a ref to ref. I think it's the only point. If you ref badly or you are pris à partie par des players, you just want to ref again.
What does it mean to ref badly? Off the top of your head, what are some things in your experience would be indicative of a referee that it's like, oops.
Like I said, just you have to be confident in what you're doing, and you can make mistake, but just talk with the player. I think referee need to talk more to players. If you are a new player, there is old player who play for 15 years. You think you can't talk to him or to them, but you have to talk to players even if you're wrong. Yeah, I don't know if good answer.
This is a big issue for me, legitimacy when you ref, because I was once a goal ref against a big match, for a big match, and I was one really angry player, and I saw the goal going out of the score basically, and he claimed to me it's fucking inside, and in the end I was like, okay, yeah, fuck it, it's inside, because the game was like he didn't want to let go, so he just didn't respect the ref as well.
Yeah. But we can make two.
Yeah.
But like as a ref, I mean, I hate to talk about authority, but you are.
Yeah, you are the authority.
Well, obviously,
Like,
yeah.
No,
Because
no,
all
no.
players say disrespect all players, right?
I understand, but like when those kinds of, I don't want to call it sportsmanship. What's like the word? Like
Sportsmanship.
no, but like there's like
Not
a
being
new.
a dick.
Right, like common sense, right? Fair play. I don't know, but again, it's so subjective that. But you as a ref, I don't try to say that you have to be
Yes,
dick
believe
about
it,
it,
yeah.
but you are an authority within the game. So like if whether that player starts complaining or like the main ref has to be able to sanction this player and let them know that that's not the way. Like you can't talk back to a ref.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well,
You
it
can't.
We talk, it's 30 seconds now.
But you as a ref know that they can't talk back to you. They can't have an attitude with you, especially if it's not even a captain. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But
Screw them.
what if they do? What I mean, it's the case. It's happening all the time. What do you do if it's happening?
We need a protocol.
Exactly. That's another one of the roles of this ref camp is we're going to learn tips and tricks in order to promote authority on the court, be a big one. And a big takeaway is that when the ball is in play, the players don't have time to come and address you. So a referee is most vulnerable to harassment when the ball is out of play. So a referee needs to use that as a tool. When the ball is in play, a referee has one job, and it's to watch play. And the assistant protects them from outside forces that would distract them, and the players on the field are too busy to play. And if they are addressing you when the ball is in play, then it's very easy money to give them that sanction because it's, they're not playing sport, the ball is live, it's not sportsman. It's easy to react to those kinds of situations. When the ball is not in play, then it is a form of discussion for captains to address the referee, etc. And we want to put this in a nice, clean box. You have your hand up.
No, this is just. This is like the German cheering.
But responding to Rita, like I would definitely when it starts showing up so much, like I would tell the player who's being disrespectful with the referees, not only the main ref or the assistant ref or like the line refs or the goal refs, but like with everyone, it's like 30 seconds out.
Yeah.
Chill the fuck out. You know, like this is it's not a war zone. It's not so a less player. It's just 2 versus 3 for 30 seconds, like until you chill the fuck out because you can't bring that violence within the sport. Like it's not safe. It's nobody wants to like you're not playing against tiger. It's not like it's not Roman Empire. Trying to survive a tiger. It's chill the fuck out.
Yeah, I agree. Even though it's real hard to do in real life.
Yeah. No, I understand.
I mean,
in theory it sounds nice, but like in practice it's something else because you also have to have like the backup from the main ref. You can't just call it. It's gonna have to be main ref. But I wanted to ask something because I understand we took the rules. There are things missing. Question.
Yeah, let me address that really quickly for everyone. This is not a rule set. This is not a rule set at all. Okay? I, in the middle of the night, from until 5 a.m., was taking the rule set and destroying it into little pieces for us to study and to use as a tool. This is to be throughout the referee camp. We want to see notes being taken. Whenever you see a misspelled word, let me know. And there's plenty of things here that, for example, I'm sure Alejandro would be very upset to see, like, what the fuck did you do to my rule? These aren't the rules. These are to help you use the rules on the court in a real situation and to use as a tool here during the rev camp. So there are definitely laws missing in here and things that were redacted or reworded. I invite you to find those differences and try to think about why I removed it. For the next edition, it'll be even better.
And like the last thing I wanted to say, I'm saying this because like if we look back to the rules that like so we'd be talking about around 6 referees within a game, right? So that means that we need like a head ref for the whole tournament that's like watching all of the games and like helping out main ref because it's not the same thing as a main ref, right? We have like a head ref, main ref, right? 2 line refs, game assistant, ref assistant, right? Goal refs, if we want to call them as well. So like we're talking about almost a set of 20, more than 20 eyes watching the game and refereeing. That never happens.
This is
Never happens.
So
So
that-
like
that-
if
that
we
equates
would
to-
have a set of 30 eyes watching the game, right? This wouldn't be a problem. Like problem. There might be other problems that come from having 30 eyes, but you know what I mean. So it's not just like one person against 6 people, let's say, because it comes down to that, right? So just one ref, and that ref is seen as someone that's not fair or biased, right? So, but if we have a set of 30 eyes, that changes a little bit. So like if those 30 eyes watch that it was a no goal, there's no discussion. Like you can't get stupid about it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but we were talking about flow of the game earlier, and I think like the more refs you have, at some point it starts kind of obstructing the flow of the game, and you have like even now if I have like critical situation. I have to walk on the court. I have to talk to the corner ref. Everyone's waiting for a minute. Sometimes that's necessary, but I think we should keep it low as possible and like not have so many discussions within the ref. That's also why I personally really don't like the idea of having like video stuff or something, because I think like the game is so short. It's a 12-minute game, and if there's like a 2-minute break, someone rewatching the stream or something, it just starts getting hilarious.
And as matches have different levels of intensity, we can also adapt the tools that the referees use, like having
competition,
like in the final, having somebody with their camera and showing you really quick something. Absolutely. So we're looking for more examples of bad refereeing. We want to put that also in a box. I think you had an idea of something that I said to you about referees.
Make examples of good refereeing.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'll try to formulate it in a positive way so everybody can like be in their own mind, like think about what would be the negative example. But for that one, like, for me, a good, like if I'm playing, if I'm on the court, I need a good referee. It means for me the referee needs to be able to explain the call. Like if I as a player, I can disagree with the ref and I can go there and ask the ref, what's the call? Why did you do this? And if the ref says, I did do this because this and this and that, and even if I disagree, then it's okay for me. But if I go to the ref and they say, the other player, I don't know, I don't think it was a foul because I don't know, it didn't feel right to me, then I'm upset. Like
that's the same pressure you can feel. I explained just earlier. It's so much pressure when even when players are strong players, and you're just afraid to make wrong calls and
the players
we are not enough to be strong. Yeah, when you're refing, you're alone. Nobody will help you.
That's why I
make a wrong call, you know.
I have at least 4 refs, 1 main, 1 assistant, and 2 goal ref. It's easier to take decision when you are a new ref, I think, and it's another point. But how you make the players refing? Do you oblige? You have to ref games, or it's if you want to ref, you hand up the hands. For me, every player have to ref. That's why what we try last year for French Championship, like you play a game, you wait a game, and then the 2 teams have to play the 3rd game. So there is 8 players, 8 players to take 4 places on the refing. I think it's easy. Maybe you can mix the teams to have 1 good ref and 1 assistant who want to improve, and 2 good ref, and in every game you have 4 refs. So maybe we can think about other ways. Like
I thought the French Championships had 8 refs last year.
And there is also head refs. So we have 3 head refs for 1 court. Each court has his head ref.
Okay.
And for each game, 2 teams have to ref
So
the games.
So you had more referees than players on the court.
Yeah. The same, but not the 8 players refing, but you can if you want. But at least you have to find 4 on 8 players. It's easy, and you know the schedule. You play, you stop, you ref. Maybe you can find another way. I think it works. Go.
I agree with you with the video on the floor of the game, but in high-speed sports like ice hockey, we have 2 main refs. We just have multiple angles of view, and I think it's important to have two people in the end of the tournament, maybe with high intensity games, to have someone in front of you at the same level, maybe just a little bit like this, you know. It can help you to just whistle when you are just about to whistle, and everybody looks like, and you know, to help you to take the decision, stop the game, and
or maybe the ref can be on court. We didn't try it, but
of course, maybe safety.
Yeah, but you know, if you forget anything, but
Cycling also.
Yeah, maybe. We talked about it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Just to
I
try.
just watched a tourney in Mexico, I think, 2 weeks ago, and the ref was just in front of the court, not on court, but in front of the court. And if he whistles something, he can go on the court and talk to players. I don't know, maybe it can help or not, but you can try it today or.
Have you tried that before? Like having the 2 minute reps?
No.
Just
From
one,
different
maybe one,
angles?
just
Have
one.
you seen that before?
Just one and two goal reps, but goal reps is always the same.
Yeah.
In tournament,
Yeah.
goal rep, and
Yeah, they're breathing, talking to them.
it's understandable.
That's interesting, but my next question, if you have that, is like, how do you communicate?
Yeah, donkeys or I don't know.
Donkeys, like,
Yeah,
that's like,
or phone with I don't know, but
Yeah.
it has to be real-time communication. Like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
football with not
Yeah.
that professionalism.
yeah,
But,
and you cannot cross.
No.
have
We have
every
to
discussion.
communicate like in real
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, play, no foul.
Yeah, using foul or no, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, with
interesting,
sign,
yeah.
maybe you can make
Yeah,
sign. I think
sign
Danny
is,
will talk about this,
yeah.
but
It has to be easy to
Yeah.
be instinctive and real quick.
we
Yeah.
tried,
When
we
we
tried
hesitate to
years
make a
ago
sign.
to make a sign, but it's too complicated. You need to find easy things like flags or maybe.
3-4 basics.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Do we have more examples of referees styles that we really like and are very good ways to ref? What do we really like in a referee that is a habit aside from excellent communication? Yes, go ahead. Another example.
I love when the ref whistles a lot.
Yeah.
I love a strict ref where no high stakes, no nothing. Like all the rules where like when I ref, all the players yell at me like, oh, we didn't used to do it back in the day. Just let the flow of the game, blah blah blah. I love it when the ref goes like every single foul is a whistle. Makes usually a very clean game as soon as all the players realize it in their head. Everyone stops doing fouls.
Yeah, after 2 minutes, you whistle three fouls and the game can be cooler. Yeah.
I've had a habit these last few tournaments, to ask players if they would prefer the thought experiment. I asked them, what if you had to choose one of two referees? One referee that is going to call too much, and another referee that is not going to call enough, right? What is your comfort zone? And as it turns out, the really high-level referees, players, they're like, let it play. And the mid and lower-level players are more preferential to having a very, very strict call. But of course, there are exceptions to the rule. Very old, very skilled players that have been around a long time in the community, like for example, Donnie Pepper from Los Angeles, who we had in Montpellier. He prefers having too many fouls being called and everything being safe and clean because he is a safe and clean player. So everybody has a profile about what they want, and we want to be able to find the middle of this through communication and through active action on court.
You wanted to say something as well?
It was basically what you said. Like I really like the good communication. I think it is everyone likes that, right? Like I really try when I know I'm not a good referee, but I always try like to stop the game and like no, let's wait. You give the ball to the other side. Let's do this again. Let's start, And in my head, I'm 100% sure that it was my mistake. But if you don't transmit that, if you just transmit that good communication and like that calm and patience, I think you really transmit that to the players,
And you have to talk, and you say, and I think taking 2 minutes to explain a hard situation, it's cool. In a tourney, you can stop and talk to other players, other ref, like a video or something, but that can help making the games better, I think. Take time and talk.
I wanted to add something to your point as well, because as a newbie, to me it's also very securing to feel watched by a ref, and I way prefer to have a ref which is very present, even maybe too much, but at least I feel like observed by like a superior kind of. And so, to my opinion, it's very important as well to make it more inclusive and for the newbies to feel safe and kind of sports around. So, for instance, when we were playing in the Pyrenees in February, we had a very good match ref by Alexis, and Alexis, he was like so present that I felt kind of okay, I can rely on him. And so it's not like I'm doing whatever I want, and maybe I was doing it right, maybe I was doing it wrong, but actually I don't know. I haven't any clue. So I'm kind of confused on my bike because I don't know how far I can go. And on the contrary, when you have a ref which is very present, I think it's with this constraint you can kind of glow up because you know where the boundaries are and how far and how hard you can get to the play. So yeah.
I think so.
So any closing statements before we take a little break?
No, I
and
think
organize on the priorities
okay,
of
I
the
can
rest.
talk hours. So.
Yeah, we can. We can. It's so
we
again
will.
we will. So we'll take a break now, and again, the activity that we have in mind while we go have a cigarette or just discuss is we want before the next stop to put up on the board the real priorities of a referee in the order of importance. So discuss amongst yourselves. I'm going to give us 15 minutes, and then we'll start with the next presentation. Thank you, Tristan.
Ouais, bah pourquoi pas. Je voulais dire dans le désordre, mais ouais, c'est un peu l'idée après de rentrer dans les
Okay. Ja, ja. Habe ich gesagt, ich mache mit.
Meine Wasserflasche noch vollwertig noch unten am Hemd. Was ist denn das? Also was ich eigentlich am Tisch finde beim Ref ist, wenn man sich da irgendwie, wenn man als Ref mit, wie sagt man das, nicht so mit Vorurteilen reingeht, sondern irgendwie denkt, dass die Leute dass eigentlich alle Leute das gut meinen, die da auf dem Feld stehen. Wie ist denn das?
Ich glaube, ich weiß, was du meinst.
Naja, sozusagen, wenn ich ihnen zutraue, dass sie fair spielen können.
Okay.
sac à dos?
Yeah.
Okay, we try to make teams that balance in referee level and player level.
We have a lot of C players, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go. I have to check for the food.
Ouais, non, il connaît en fait, le gars.
Allez, c'est un gars du coin.
Il a senti la sanction. Il a l'air déconné,
Ouais, attends, mais.
Eh le gars!
La police.
Putain, je pensais que je devrais courir après les gens pour qu'ils soient à l'heure, mais pas après les moineaux. Quoi.
Il veut partir sinon?
Et ouais, mais ça il faut un outil parce que on a des feuilles de match. Non, accumuler les fautes.
Ah ouais,
Parce que c'est dans la règle en plus.
C'est pour ça que je dis que des fois, il te fait réfléchir un peu sur l'équipe où il est. Bon, si tu fais la faute, il y a des avantagés, mais c'est que tu dois tirer avantage sur l'équipe après en fait. Tu sais que des fois, ils se plaignent un peu de ça.
Ouais, mais.
Après, ça peut éviter aussi aux équipes de faire des fautes.
Ouais, voilà, pendant le match, ouais, c'est ça. Tu sais que en foot, c'est ça. Tu sais que tu as pris un carton match d'avant, et que si tu reprends ce match-là, bah, tu vas être difficile à faire, donc tu vas un peu les fautes, peut-être que ton frère moins joué, tu tournois qui a voilà, c'est trop facile de faire un 3 fautes à chaque match. Voilà, tu fais une faute comme ça pour empêcher un but, mais pas toi. Super bien. Deux matchs d'après.
Voilà.
Oui, voilà, ouais, tu fais à chaque fois ces matchs.
Je comprends dire ça.
Quoi? Tu sais les équipes. Mettre dans des cases les joueurs, les fautes, machin, telle faute de
C'est irréel cette série. Je peux te penser l'autre là. Ouais. Oh mon dieu. Et la meuf qui arrive. Ah, c'est vrai que ma voix d'affaire, c'est la voix, trop cassé les couilles. Après, le gamin, il te t'appelle, putain, tu vas trop saoulé. Fatigué.
Bah oui, je vois.
Hier, en gros, on dormait chez Benoît et on s'était couché, il était 2h du mat.
Ah, c'est lui qui faisait ça?
Ouais.
Il a fait quoi?
En gros, on était en train de dormir chez Benoît et là, 2h du mat, on entend. Et du coup, on est tous en et là, et du coup, c'est genre dans la rue, on entend. Et elle, elle met son t-shirt, son short, qui commence à mettre ses chaussures. Et du coup, on se dit, putain, bon bah vas-y, on va faire pareil, on comprend rien. Il y a une baston dehors, du coup, on se dit qu'on a aidé Gaspard, on comprend pas. Puis nous, c'est vas-y, je sais pas quoi, on va les voir et tout. Puis nous, on était là, genre, les yeux dans le pâté de.
Mais c'était où? C'était chez qui?
Dans la rue, en dehors de chez Benoît.
Ah, chez Benoît.
Et en fait, du coup, on se retrouve dans la rue, donc complètement éclaté. Et on regarde à droite, à gauche, et là à gauche, on voit des jeunes. Mais ils se battaient pas, tu vois. Bon, bah on attend. Et là, une dernière après, on attend, on n'avait pas du tout envie d'aller se battre. On se disait, bon, bah, si ça part en baston, on va être obligé d'y aller. Et là, ils finissent par revenir tous. Et eux, ils étaient surchauds.
Mais c'était qui? Genre.
C'est eux, en gros, ils voulaient fumer un joint devant chez Benoît, parce qu'il y a des mecs qui sont passés apparemment, ils ont cru qu'ils les avaient insultés. Ils étaient deux. Sauf qu'apparemment, ils ont appelé leur pote en secret, du coup, les deux sont transformés en 6. Et après, il y a genre 12 personnes qui sont arrivées, qui voulaient se battre avec Gas et ses potes.
Ah, mais c'était. Ah, il y avait Gaspard dedans? Ouais. Et c'est Gaspard qui voulait fumer le joint fusil?
Ouais. Avec ses potes, quoi, il est rentré de soirée. Et du coup, apparemment, ils sont fait engrainer. Et là, il y a une pote de Gaspard et ses potes qui arrivent, genre juste après eux. Et c'est là, il vénère, il a défoncé un peu. Eh, franchement, me casser les couilles, comme ça. Ils commencent à rentrer dans la maison, à tout le bordel, à s'embrouiller entre eux. Donc, elle voulait pas que je suis parti. Votre joie, calmez-vous. T'as pas une clope? Non, en fait, j'ai pas de clope, genre, je veux me coucher.
Gaspard et ses potes.
C'est pas de leur faute, apparemment. C'est pas de leur faute, il y a des gens qui voulaient se battre avec eux, mais ils voulaient pas. Du coup, on a dû aller les aider. Ça prend le temps de s'entendre. Ça sera. Ah non, elle est dans mon. Elle est dans mon sac.
J'ai oublié ma
commencer, juste avant qu'on commence avec la prochaine activité, présentation, have we come to an agreement about what the priorities are? What is the most important for a referee here?
Safety.
Does everyone agree safety? Yeah. Safety is really, really high on the list. Okay? Now, how does a referee make this priority become a reality?
I think the most important thing is to be confident.
Confidence.
Yeah, I think safety, how to make safety happen is de-escalation.
De-escalation. This is a wonderful word that we're going to return to when we're talking about calling fouls, and also when Alejandro tomorrow talks about complicated games where you need to be proactive as a referee to keep things from falling out of control, because that is dangerous for everyone when you lose control. Donc, translation, il dit que les choses continuent à devenir pire en pire. Des fois, un match, on perd contrôle. Et le fait que les joueurs ne se sont pas protégés par toi vont influencer leur jeu, qui vont induire des fautes dangereuses. Souvent, we call this retaliation. It's when a player feels the referee did not protect me, I received a foul, and now I'm going to go dish it out because apparently it's allowed. And I'm going to punish this referee for his inactivity. This kind of thing can happen. So yes, proactivity, very important for safety. What else? Any other ideas? How do we be safe?
Arrive with authority.
Arrive with authority. I was thinking a visual check of the equipment. So most tournaments there is a little bike check. And a referee should either be making sure that they are within the norms of the bike check, and if there isn't a bike check for the tournament, sometimes there's not, then a referee should take it onto their personal responsibility, and I tell you, the players will appreciate it. You are walking around the court, you check the goals for holds, because maybe you might refuse a goal that was scored. We shoot really hard now. Or maybe you see that a player has some loose bolts on their disc, or they don't have a disc guard. You need to protect everybody on the court. You have to not allow that player to participate. So
it's possible. I don't think it's possible.
It's definitely possible. You walk around, you look at the bikes, you see if there's anything that is for you appears to be unsafe. You indicate that to the player, please, mallet cap, the 3 millimeters at the bottom of your mallet, these kinds of things.
But then again, when we talk about safety, I think it's hard to hold the ref responsible. Like if something happens, I don't think it's the ref's fault.
It's absolutely true. We're going to talk about what's your fault and what's not your fault. And this is a very good subject. But in terms of safety, the way we promote it, it's the materials that we're using. We want them to be respected. And as you say, the proactivity and how we're calling the game, we want safety to keep in mind. Another big one for safety is to understand which laws exist for safety's sake and which laws exist for the fluidity and fun of the game, and be able to differentiate between these laws when you are giving out a sanction, a penalty to players for their behavior. We want to be strict on safety as referees. When unsafe play is happening, an unsafe joust, for example, this is fertile ground for setting the tone of the match with a penalty for somebody who didn't respect the rules of the joust. Okay, so we're gonna put that number one. What's another priority for the referee?
Be there.
Timeliness, huh?
No, I mean like when you ref. Like you just focus what you say before you don't drink beer or whatever.
Presence, huh?
Yeah,
So
presence.
Concentration. Yeah.
that might fit somewhere else. It's a priority for the referee to be concentrated, but I don't think we need it on the list of things that the referee needs to take into account. We're talking about big global ideas for the sport as a whole.
Big idea?
Communicate.
Communication, clear communication.
Yes.
Let's start that around here.
For newbies, it's important. Because sometimes there is a fault and you don't know why.
Yes.
I think you already said it. If safety is the first priority, and the second one is making the game fun for everybody.
Right.
Fluid.
So fluidity.
Yeah.
front of fluid. It also starts with an F.
Fairness.
Fairness. The ref is trying to make the game fair. The tools of the referee are to allow the referee to make the game fair. Where we are in our reffing skills, we're not trying to apply the rules to the letter. We're trying to use the rules in our situations and events to make the game fair and fluid. Right. So let's put fair up here. And fluid. We'll revisit this and talk about how maybe clear communication, for example, that goes into fluidity of the game.
And also into fairness.
For sure.
Absolutely. So we'll keep on working on this, and this is a good kind of thing to have written, write it down in your own words in your book. And as we develop this camp, we're creating an archive. We're creating a resource for everyone else that didn't have the privilege to join us here today. So your work is going to be useful here. Thank you again, Tristan, for the presentation. And now for something completely different. We have Annelise the Gak, who's going to talk about the first job the referee ever was given. Hey man, I want to play. Will you put 2 minutes on this match? Okay, 2 minutes. 2 minutes remaining. Here we go. Timekeeping in referees, with referees in becole. Thank you, Annelise.
Okay, so first of all, Bernard, he kind of gave me the job. I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this, da, da, da. So I'm a bit okay, taking it from the notes that he gave it to me also. So thank you, Bernard, for this. And now I guess so I will speak in English, but of course if some things are unclear, we switch in French, we translate, blah blah blah. And then so it's about time. So it's time also how you keep the time in the game, but also talking about tournament organizations, which is not so easy to when you have a lot of teams and everything. So, but first of all, so first of the question is how the modification of the match duration has influenced the sport and its game format. So let's say that today we have 3x3, it's 12 minutes for 3 versus 3 players. And I remember at some point before it was 10 minutes. So I don't have the answer, but I have to say that I don't know why this length. So maybe some of you know.
Well, I have the feeling that it's 10 minutes is what's in the rulebook and what usually was done. And it was always 10 minutes with stopping. And it's a question of how many teams you can fit in the tournament.
Okay.
If you go for 12, you can have less time, or less teams you can play in the same time.
Yeah.
And
that changed a lot.
Yeah, because it used to be 10 minutes, which is also in the rules and our last tournament. I was actually calculating the tournament with 10 minutes, but then somebody just told the head ref it's 12 minutes with no stoppage. And so we stopped. Yeah, so we stopped the tournament was start 3 hours later than it was actually planned, which was okay because we had lights and we had a nice spot. But yeah, this is very important to have in mind that 12-minute games are taking much longer than 12 minutes if you add it to the whole tournament.
So, and if I'm
Yes, I think it's the way we want to play in tourney. If we want more players or longer game, but we can't have twice. So we are thinking about next Euro, and some player wants 20-minute games. But if you make 20-minute game, you play less, one round less. But if you have 20 teams, you need to do 6 rounds, and it's really complicated. Like, it's really important question.
So let's say that we have this. I think it's when it's 4 it's 16.
25 or 30 minutes.
Or we just did 30.
No, 30.
Yes, 30.
Yeah, so let's say like the topic is also like tournament organizers problem, like what kind of choice do you make when you organize a tournament, so you can fit as much as you want or you can, or you make more like radical choices with opening to less teams. And then and then the question also that we discussed with Bernie was like refereeing can still gain time. So within a game, a lot of time can be lost, and there is some different situations. It's nice if also you can share experience. Let's say like we try to have a bit of blah blah turning around. But the question is how to eliminate wasted time, match time, announce time to players and their equipment must be ready to respect the timing. And also we have the gestures that the ref can use to be more efficient, so it goes with the communication. For example, we have this. Before the match, organizer side. Tournament organizers will need to decide how many matches can be played per day, depending on the number of teams, players, the number of fields, and the rotation time between matches. So this is a formula that you can use to understand how much time you will spend if you choose like 12 team or 16 teams tournament stuff. So basically, number of teams multiplied by the match length plus 8 minutes. So this is your like the 8 minutes. I don't know what is it.
What is this 8 minutes of additional time?
Yeah, go ahead. I would think it's just like a general. People are like it just takes time to start a new game. There's gonna be some pauses or something during the game, some stoppages of the time, and I think that's just like an estimate to see how much longer it will take.
Yeah, but what is it?
I think it's probably also maybe the experience of how many golden goals exist during the tournament, maybe, and then add that to it, because you don't have only the changing time, but also the time which you approximately have if you have single elimination and golden goal. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, well, I'd say it's not. They don't have golden goals in the round. This is just for a round, not for the whole tournament, right?
Right. This is for to calculate the length of a round.
Yeah. So yeah, but this 8 is also going divided by 2, so it's more 4 minutes.
And we as referees, we want that 8 minutes to maybe be 5 minutes or 4 minutes. The time that we can buy back for the tournament organizers may offer everybody that fabulous extra round on the end of Saturday. We have enough time. The referees were on point. The matches ran fluid. The organization was good. Everyone plays more polo when that happens. Referees play a role in this.
But is these 8 minutes, does this consider the golden goals and single elimination or not? Is it just the chain? So who's coming up with 8 minutes?
That 8 minutes was ballparked. It was an estimation provided by Arthur from Tours. Tours Bike Polo organizes excellent tournaments, and they're very on point. And it's largely in part to players and organizers like Arthur who helped to create this slide for us.
The 8 minutes is the time of stopping the game, of the rotation of the teams. So when you make the schedule, like you start the first game at 8.5, and the second game you can schedule it at 25 minutes after, and you can keep your schedule to it. With this time, we are on time at the end of this one. And then you can, like when we say, you can win some time and finish earlier if everything is faster than 8 minutes.
Yeah, so like we've been talking about this a lot within the Flint behalf of Spain about the quad, the 4 versus 4 thing, where at the end of the day, like people end up playing much less time because of the rotation and whatnot. And like what they wanted me to like voice was like considering to what extent it really doesn't become like into positive discrimination, if you know what I mean. Like, so what normally happens within the dynamic of these kinds of games would be that the less experienced player will come in to play the less time, let's say. So like what we were talking about is to what extent does 4 versus 4 really promote inclusivity? Because I'm not quite sure like what's the main point on bringing back the quads to the polo scene. And that's something I would like to eventually discuss if we could. And the length of those quad games, because it just shortens the time in which players can play, basically, like in each individual time. Yeah, so that's just putting it there.
And then the more you go in the tournament, the less someone from the team could be like a bit
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this is quite pragmatic. So during the match, the protocol, no? Like, don't forget to start the timer. During the match, basically you announce the time every 5 minutes, at 2 minutes from the end, at 1 minute from the end, at 30 seconds from the end, final countdown, whistle, and then, so at each restart of play, you announce the time remaining. So this is clear, but yeah.
What we changed here was the final countdown, because we experienced if we start counting from 10 down, there's much more hassle on the court. So we only say 10, then we wait, and we count only down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You mean more hassle?
Yeah, because people in 10 seconds, you still can kind of do things on the court. So it encourages the player on the court to do maybe something dangerous.
Okay.
Because it's something stupid, because they still have 10 seconds. But you, for me, de-escalating, and this is how we. It's just count down from 5, but mention the 10.
Okay. Yeah, it's the same as looking for you.
Yeah. Okay. In book.
No, in the
Yeah, just as an idea, or if it's even in the rule set, I don't know.
So, gestures, for those maybe just to know, start of play raises an arm in the air, dropping the arm as the whistle is blown. Okay? Then, restart of play, extend an arm outward with the palm facing up to indicate play can begin. Bernie is doing it a lot. You can see him over it like this. So it's this kind of gesture. And then delayed penalty advantage raises an arm straight into the air. And then possession after stoppage extends an arm in the direction of the team who restarts the ball. And there is, I think, I don't know. Yeah, there is we were speaking also with Bernie about the fact that, you know, when you, so there is a goal and then you need to restart, no? The next game. So instead of saying, are you ready? You know, like this kind of stuff, you restart immediately saying 10 seconds to be ready. And then you count down. So you also gain a bit of time without waiting for the people to be ready and then start the countdown. So this is a trick. and then yes, so they have 10 seconds, and but you do it like right after the goal, basically. Like you don't wait for them to be like, "Woo, we won!" Like you just like you just go for it.
It makes me think of what we said just before. It's also about the posture of the referee. Like we are an authority on that match, so we decide when the match starts. When we decide the intensity of so. Yeah, so in my sense, it's linked to the posture we have to have as
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. How would you do that when they score a goal? Sometimes they score a goal and they slip away, they have to take their bike, or they fall down after a goal, whatever. Is it a good idea that you wait for the 3 players go to their side? Do we all do that, or do you have any better idea?
Me, I would wait for them to go back to the side, but
like I think again we're back to like sports ethics.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be a good person.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious, like how do you do that, or if you really like they score a goal and you just immediately count to 10 because you are late into the tournament. It's already Sunday midday. You know, it's like just wanted to hear opinion, but I'm guessing we agree on the waiting for them to come back and be a good person.
Them to come back, stand up, like get on their bikes and then say this.
Cool.
I think it also depends on like how far in the game you are, how far in the tournament are. Yeah, like if it's in the beginning of a game and like the clock is running anyways, it doesn't delay the tournament. If you wait for them, it just gives the players less playing time, so it's their own fault. If you're in the last 2 seconds, I usually tell them like, if they take longer, I just yell like, get on your side, get ready, and then when they are all on the side, I give them their 10 seconds. And talking about gestures, one thing that I always do, maybe you can tell me if it's a good idea or not, is like when I'm on the referee stand and there's a ball turnover or something, and I say, right side 10 seconds to be ready, I point to the right side so everybody knows like I'm waiting for the right side, and then I say left side, you can cross, and then I point to the left side. But still, like, it happens every now and then that people cross too early or think I'm talking to the other team or something. So I don't know, maybe if there's a better gesture or if that is enough and the people need to take care of it, if we should all do it like this.
Or even as the captain, maybe? I don't know. An idea that just came to my mind.
When dealing with delays to restart, maybe the ball is stuck in the net. Maybe it went 50 meters away and you don't have another ball. Or the other ball you have is harder and different and it's going to affect the play when you sub this new ball in and you have time that's running. It's the discretion of the referee to stop the clock when they want. And I mean the game clock. You think they can't get ready in time because of this exceptional situation. You want to decide is this worthy of a sanction for delay of restart because somebody's in a bad mood and they're not, they're being difficult? Or is it because just conditions or situations where you want to stop the time rather than just let the time run where nobody has the permission to participate? So one example that always comes to mind for me is here's a hypothetical thought experiment. You're reffing a good game. It's a 16-minute quad game. There have been 4 goals scored. That's 2v2 and 2 fouls called. And the game is anybody's match. And there are 4 minutes remaining in the game. You, the referee, if you've done your job well with timing, then the game restarts as quickly as possible so that the players may play when the clock is running. If you don't do your job well as a referee, then perhaps you allow 30 seconds to go by after each restart because you don't have an assistant. So you're marking the goal, you're noting who got it, you're checking around and looking around and talking and discussing, and somebody's arguing with you. Maybe it takes you 30 seconds each time to get the ball back in play.
That means 6 times 10 seconds more than normal. That's a whole minute of the time is ticking away, and the players have no permission or opportunity to play the game. This is stealing time from the players in the game on accident, and we must try to reduce it as much as possible. Already the matches are short. Time is very few. We can't waste it. So when we are in arbitration, we want the ball in play when the clock is running. And if you can't get that ball in play, maybe it's appropriate to stop the clock and inform the players that you've stopped the clock. This person hit their head. I've stopped the clock. We're going to address it.
Do we want to communicate to other players that maybe the time is stopped for these incidental?
Absolutely, and it's interesting for a referee to have a good means of communicating that they've stopped the time. So organize your thoughts on how a referee can communicate clearly to everyone that time is stopped.
And there is something to do maybe because now when you ref the game, you don't have the timer. It's the assistant who gets the timer. So how do you manage that? If you want to stop the time because the ball is outside of the assistant, how do you?
Yes. Once you lose the time, how do you get it back?
Yeah, and it's not your point because you don't have the timer. It's the assistant. How do you? Maybe
you can
have to keep the timer.
And so talking about time, I think we have a new slide for it, isn't it?
You can possibly have mechanical clocks as well, for which both the assistant and you have the option to just tap on it, and that will work.
This is just a thought regarding like the safety, fair, fluidity, So I'm thinking how like with all the things that we're talking about, like, for example, what you mentioned about like how doing a countdown from 10 just makes everyone tense and or like at least a bit more aggressive because you want to be able to score or do something within those 10 seconds. And then like the whole timing thing, I might be wrong, this is just an idea. So like what we're kind of saying is that at the end of the day, like the referee is pretty much responsible for like the mood that's being set in the game. Do you see what I mean? So like if we let pass a certain violent intention on behalf of a player, for example, or like the attitude, if we just like let things pass and like we let everything pass, we're setting a sort of game dynamics within court. I don't know if you're following what I'm trying to say. So at the end of the day, like what I'm trying to say is I consider that what we are kind of maybe agreeing on, I don't have it very clear, is that a referee would be a curatorial kind of job. What I mean that is like the referee would be responsible for setting like the energy, the tension, the like team responsibility in behalf of the other team as well. I don't know if it's making sense. I don't know if you're following what I'm trying to say. I'll try to explain. So as a ref, if you don't call a foul, right, then you're letting it pass, and that generates tension within the teams, or like teams against each other, right? And if it keeps on happening, so like the game starts becoming more aggressive, it starts escalating. If as a referee you're not calling those fouls, right, so the escalation of that violence and of that game dynamic just keeps going further and further, right? So in the other way around as well, like if you start calling it out, you're stating, as we mentioned in the former presentation, to what extent you're going to be able to do things that you're not supposed to or that you're supposed to. I don't know if I'm being able, because it's a bit, like moreover the evidence, the safety, the fairness, and the fluidity. I consider that the referee has this huge responsibility to make the game dynamics, yes, safe, but I'm not sure what the idea or the category for it would be, but it's kind of then this sort of curation of the sport, I don't know how to explain that curation of the sport.
I'll do my best to translate. I think what we're talking about here en français, c'est que ton implication, ton proactivité fait que le nombre de fautes qui se passent dans un match va changer un petit peu. Juste parce que tu es strict ne veut pas forcément dire qu'il y aura plus de fautes. En fait, même l'inverse peut être le cas, où lequel tu es lax et le match commence à perdre contrôle, plus de prise de risque, plus de fautes qui doivent être sifflées, et surtout, comme on le remarque à haut niveau, plus de arrêts de jeu, où lequel l'arbitre est en train de faire un choix ou se décider, ça siffle tous les secondes, ça commence à parler, après 30 secondes de jeu, il y a 1 minute d'arrêt, 30 secondes de jeu, 1 minute d'arrêt. Ce type de gestion du match est à éviter par rapport à la proactivité en essayant de promoter le type de match que tu veux voir que tu veux arbitrer, quoi. Ça joue dans le gestion de timing, ça, cet aspect de justesse, de fluidité, c'est dans le timing sur lequel on s'applique.
So the question was like, when you organize a tournament, which are the tools that you give to have like a proper referee squad? And now the question was like, okay, if we have, like the ball going out, or like the players going to talk to the referee and blah blah blah, this keeps the game quite tense because you know that you are losing time. So this is the discretion, like the choice of the referee to stop or not, like you said. But the question here would be, okay, do we provide another timer that is actually, so there's 2 timers. One is for the game, so the 12 minutes, for example, and then the other one is for the additional time. So it's a question. So it means that you don't stop the time. You just add the time that is lost during the game. So you will have an additional time. And do we use it? Like, do we use it at the end? So it also, in a way, it also de-escalates this sensation of losing time when people argue, for example, and the others are like, shut the fuck up, we don't have time. Blah, blah, blah. So it's a open question, how you feel with this.
La question c'est, est-ce que c'est intéressant de, plutôt que arrêter le chrono, mais avoir un deuxième chrono qui prend en charge le temps perdu, ou lequel le bal n'est pas en jeu, mais le chrono il découle, et on ajoute ce temps à la fin du match, comme dans un match de foot par exemple, 3 minutes de temps additionnel, 5 minutes de temps additionnel.
If I can just add another thing, is this would mean, for example, when you say you have 10 seconds to be ready, and then 10 seconds to cross, it means 20 seconds every time there is
a stoppage.
Voilà, merci. So this you add it to the also in that sense.
Wait, I think earlier we had this idea of how long should a game be, and I think it makes it even more difficult to calculate how long it would be. So this would be the reason why I think there should not be an edit time, because it makes such an insecurity on how long the games will be, how many, and this can really be a difficult situation because maybe you don't have light, maybe you can extend the tournament. So I would still go for the 12 minutes and try to not waste time with all the other things we said, like get ready, 10 seconds to get ready, and so on and so forth. That's just my opinion.
I'm thinking more general, what would be the advantage of having a second timer and adding the time afterwards over just stopping the time? Like if we want to take these situations to prolong the game, why not just stop the time? Why the second timer?
To take the tense. This argument I really understand. To take the tense off.
But
with players who say, we waste time here, so they have in their mind, okay, maybe we waste time, but the referee knows it and will edit the time afterwards.
But if we just stop the time, it's the same thing.
But you don't know if they really stop the time because
you
it's
say
invisible.
I stop the time.
It's true.
I mean, the second chronometer is also invisible for the players. The players don't see if the ref pushes a button and sees, we've had 30 seconds.
It's the perception of they take time. They have this additional time thing. So.
And also, if you stop the time, you can also go crazy with your argument with the referee. And be like, I have time to argue. I don't know. Yeah, it's
We had something else to think about, and it's 2 timers and which one.
Well, I think I would remark that, say for example, in soccer, the head ref will sometimes be wearing 2 wristwatches. And that's just because he might mess up the first time. And he's got a spare timer running in case he forgot to stop the time when he was supposed to. Or forget to restart the time when you're supposed to. We do need multiple timers because there can be multiple things where time needs to be kept. For example, an appropriate timeout requires an additional timer, or a time penalty if a player takes 30 seconds or a minute. Who is going to take on the responsibility of communicating the time remaining to that player and releasing them back into the wild? Who's keeping that clock? So there's a lot of time to be managed, and the referee needs to know who is doing what. Who is keeping the time? He needs to be able to communicate with them when to stop it and start it, as well as with the players. Now, as referees, do we have the authority to call the match later than when the clock started or stops? For example, it's like, my clock just stops, but I'm going to give them the 10-second countdown so that they can be aware that this match is coming to an end, and it's et cetera, et cetera. Should a referee have the ability to make a match just longer because they've made a mistake maybe and they want to make up for it or something? Or should this clock be the law? Like really an iron fist, this is the clock, it's deciding when the match starts or stops.
If you messed up, I think this is like my very personal point of view. If you messed up because for whatever reason you weren't watching the clock or whatever. I mean, again, if you're 10 seconds or, 15 seconds, then if you really messed up and it's like 3 minutes over time, then that's
just as an anecdote, there was a very famous World Championship match that was very, very late in the tournament where timekeeping was messed up, and they noticed on the streaming that this match literally lasted twice as long as it was supposed to, and that was just counting the ball in play time. So not even counting the stoppages of play that happened in that match. That was just people forgot to stop and start the clock appropriately because they were starting it and stopping it all the time for whatever reason. It was a tough match to ref and things to negotiate. Yes.
Yeah, but with the reference, if you need a universal rule, sometimes the timer is on the wall, visible
for everyone,
and the player focus on it. And if you add 10 seconds, everybody is loose. So if you have a chrono, you can do what you want. But if you have a timer on the wall,
you can't.
Strictly,
the
time.
Yeah.
But it helps also because then people shout time, and then so I really like the idea of having the clock visible.
Oh, that would be a wonderful era for bike polo when we could all see the clock. Because it's not just players that want to know the time remaining.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's players on the edge of the court that want to know when they will play. And the first thing they do is come and bug the referee when he's trying to execute his match. And we're all polite people, and we all love each other. I don't want to be mean to you, but I might bite your head off if you come and bother me when I'm reffing a game. And then I will come and apologize later for being rude. I'm just in a stressful situation. I can't tell you the answers to your questions.
Yeah, but that's what we need, 2 timers. Maybe you can have one timer, never stop it. And just the referee take the time you need to make the game clear and good, like you say before. You can have your own timer when you referee, and if you think this time you want to stop the game, you activate. And when the game restarts, you stop the time. And at the end of the game, you can say, okay, I have 2 minutes more, and maybe it's the discretion of the referee. Do you need this time, or maybe you don't need this time? If it's a shitty game, you can stop the game earlier, maybe, or say, okay, there is 2 extra time, 2 minutes, maybe we need it or not.
And it's
really good to have 2 timers. One you never stop, and one for the referee.
Interesting. We can discuss this.
Because the referee don't have the timer in his hand. It's the assistant, so not the same thing.
But I also think that having like the second timer and then putting additional time after the end of the match makes so many things so much more complicated and so much less transparent. Like when you're playing on the court and you're asking the ref like how much time is left, and they tell you 3 minutes, and then the 3 minutes is over, and then they tell you, oh, it's another minute, because or like the person who's keeping the time gets asked what's the time, and they have to calculate like the clock is saying 9 minutes, so it's 3 minutes left, but we had this and this and that, so it's gonna be 1 minute more, and then it takes like 30 seconds for them to answer or something. Or people want to know when they play their next match, and they see maybe on the clock on the wall 2 minutes left, and they get ready, and then it's another 2 minutes. I mean, not a big problem, but I think it's a lot of complication, and I don't really see why.
All right, we're starting to get short on time, so let's take one more remark, and then we'll allow Annelies to continue.
Yeah, well, it's just I don't really see what the problem this is a solution to. So what's the problem the second clock is supposed to solve? I don't.
Okay, ideally a referee will have at least one other clock in order to time. Time penalties when a player takes 30 seconds.
I can
now it's true that a competent assistant referee will be able to manage that. They're looking at a clock. They'll know when 30 seconds go by. But it does, at the very least, it's interesting to organize yourself with your assistant referee in order for timing to be clean and concise. What we want to take away here is that time is important, time is difficult, and a referee needs to be preoccupied with this when they're approaching a court. Yes, last thing.
But the time also makes the thrill, and why we are all addicts by Polo. It's also because the time is short and not extended. You have not enough time. You know that.
Yeah.
You have to be quick, and so that makes adrenaline also.
Absolutely. Yes, communicating time at appropriate moments is something that we'll address in the next talk. Okay, Annelies?
You want me I switch on this? What do I have? Yeah, like it was the.
This is again a question about formatting a tournament so that everybody plays as much as possible. We have a lot of options on how to do the rounds of a tournament.
So this is like let's say classic tournaments with like more than 12 teams. And so for example, like we just did the Open in Montpellier, so it was 24 teams, 2 courts, and they decided to keep it like full group on the Saturday. So for example, my team, we started in the beginning of the first round, and then the second match was at the end of the second round. So in between, you have 3 hours and a half. Wow. So we played at 9 the first one, and then I checked, and the second one was at 12:30. So there were like an argument on the conversation.
especially like Max from Wong, who is part of the team that organized the EHBA2023, which is a very old tournament, and they started to play like with 2 groups. And this is the question of like when you decide to have 2 groups, you organize the time totally differently, because you make a group of players in the morning, and then the second group, the half that will play in the afternoon, they are the referees. So it's like very more clear that you have a job in the morning and another job in the afternoon. And of course you have less waiting match. So this is also a question of like how do you want to, like, physically speaking, like how do you want to engage in a time length? Like for example, me, if I have 3 hours in between, I'm like, what the fuck? And then people get, like, also people, they are drunk, they smoke weed in between, and then they are like, yeah, 3 hours, pause, like, and you're like, I mean, they're okay, but I mean, we know what we do in between the match. Like, we don't go like doing pumps and trainings and get warm. Like, so for me, it's quite obvious that it's not comfortable. And other things, so less waiting between matches, easier reffing, because as soon as you know that you are part of the tournament and you also have a time schedule as a ref, so it also gives you a responsibility that it's totally different than the one like you just played and then what? You jump and then of course you lose time because you want to drink, you want to be like, you cannot speak with your roommate, with your teammate. So this is another question, like, is it comfortable to jump into reffing just after a match? And then, okay, Max was like, allow the players to visit the city. Like, literally, like, it's also a good vibe, like, if you can see the city. And then, generally simplify the organization. And then also, more and more people are making kids because they get older. So they come with the kids, and it's also a kid-friendly thing to be able to tell someone, like, come with your kid in the afternoon because you can take care of them, I don't know.
bike polo, not visiting. When you come in Tunis, you come play bike polo, not visiting the city.
No, well, but I mean, I'm telling.
It's not so easy.
I'm just giving arguments from people because it's part of it. You can say what the fuck, I don't give a shit of the city, but some people they do. So it's just like, well, but yeah. Me, I don't visit the city, but
so,
I know people do.
To take this back into the big question about losing the time during a tournament, is that Annalise is differentiated for you 2 ways a referee costs time. Restarts when the clock is going down. You're just costing the players time on their match. But if you cost time with your organization of your tournaments, because everyone's there, so everyone's slow to get to their court and start. You're looking for your player who went to the bathroom. You're looking for referees. We need a referee. Everyone's there. We have a lot of delays in the mechanics of getting the rounds rolling. When we do, the mechanics of how we do this is affected by the way groups are decided. So that's what we want to talk about here is if we have a good system, then we get to play more polo. Everyone gets to play more polo.
I have a very strong opinion on this. You play in the morning, you ref in the afternoon. Because I really don't like it. And I think also it doesn't add up with the things it says on the board. Because if you play in the morning, you ref in the afternoon, you don't have time to visit the city. You have to be on the court the whole day because you're playing in the morning and you're reffing in the afternoon. You have to be on the court with your kids. So this doesn't go together.
Yeah.
And in my experience also, like, I don't know, maybe it works at the EHBA2023, but in my experience, I've never seen it work. Like, we tried it at Berlin Mixed last year, and you have the teams that play in the afternoon. No one's going to be there for the first game to ref in the morning if they play in the afternoon. At least that's how I saw it.
There's just one point with the referee. The 2 groups, the point is also you have 2 groups and the teams get to play quickly.
Yeah. That's a different thing, and I think that's great. but I like, even me, like when I'm playing, I like to ref in the same group that I'm playing with, because in the group that I'm playing, I know when the games are, who's playing against who. When I'm not playing, it's very hard for me to stay focused on like which game is it now, when do I have to ref. What we did at the Rising Stars, and what I think worked really well, was you play a game, then you wait one game, and then you ref the one after. So you play your game, you have time to like calm down, you can talk to your teammates, and then you ref. Everybody knows when they have to ref. I think that was a good
what we do in French Championship.
Yeah, we did
that.
that.
You inspired us.
Yeah, we did the same. We copied that format, and it was since I've been in Valencia 3 years, it was the easiest. I did like copy of that and.
Okay. So
didn't change anything. Maybe the things it's the sanction. If you have to ref one game, even if it's the first of the morning and you play the afternoon, or it's the after you rest and you have to ref. If you are not ready to ref when it's your turn, what did you do? Yeah, I have heard that in Rouen for the fire, if you are not here at the game, you can lose points, or maybe start with 2 players in the court. I don't know, we can imagine everything, but I think the way it's the sanction. If you are not ready to ref when it's your turn, maybe we have to sanction it.
Okay, speaking of time, we're very, very short. I'm going to give the role back to Annalise so that we do finish in time for lunch today. Oh, that's the beginning of. Oh, good. We're in the. Okay, we're right where we need to be. Very good on the timing. Timing presentation, perfect timing. So closing. Yes. Any closing remarks about timekeeping in general? Does anybody have more?
Besides, we stop the time at 2 minutes before the end.
Oh, very good. Yes, a referee having the stoppage of play at the end of the match. Is that clear to everyone why this exists? It's not clear for everyone. So who would like to explain what this principle is about stopping the clock but not for the entire duration of the match? Benjamin.
The current winning team could just lose time, just waste time to get their, to keep their advantage.
Strategy. So the time remaining in a match, we don't want the mechanics of stoppages and starts to be some kind of tool that the players are using to impede the other team from scoring that goal to tie it up to keep playing. We want them to just play polo, and so we want to remove the mechanic of time remaining and stoppages from what it is they're trying to do. Okay? That will prevent them from doing technical fouls or tactics in order to delay, which is unsportsmanlike. What is another reason why we have this stoppage of time in the last 3 minutes?
To keep tension, I guess, during the games. So you know the clock will not stop, so you just have to play.
It's horrible when you stop play and the clock is running and you have 30 seconds left in the game. What has the referee done to the match if he makes a stoppage and with 30 seconds remaining? Are 20 seconds of those going to be eaten by his restart? We don't want this to have an impact at the end of the game.
It could also be like if we don't stop the time in the last 2 minutes, then the game could end while the ball is not in play.
Yes.
That would be a travesty. Can the game end when the ball is not in play? That's a great question we'll have to address at the camp, yes.
I think it's the only sport where you see that. And why? Maybe the two-timer can be a solution.
I thought that's why we have the stoppage of play in the last 2 minutes, like the stoppage of the clock. I've never seen it happen.
It's more complicated, I think, to keep the time when you have to stop. Why after 2 minutes? Why not 3 minutes, 4 minutes? Maybe we can talk about just keeping the time with one timer and the other take the extra time. And when it's the end, even if the ball is outside, you can say, okay, there is 2 more minutes. I think it's just.
Yeah, be
I don't really saw the interest of that.
It's a great idea to have like some kind of surprise at the end of the game. You figure out the game is done, and now you figure out you have 1 more minute.
Yeah,
or maybe 2 minutes. So it's like can be a game changer.
Like in a lot of
sport, I think.
Can't you like just like split in the middle and maybe you have shorter matches, like 10 minutes, and just stop the time when you have goals, not necessarily on foul play?
Again, stopping the time at any time during the game is a risk to the referee. Not only are you at risk of being talked to and addressed when the ball is not in play, but if the ball is not in play and the time has stopped, in theory you could go make a sandwich and hang out and then come back and continue your reffing. So there has to be, in this camp, we want to understand this tool. One more question for you as a prompt. Has it ever happened to you that the game is over, but a goal is scored and 5 seconds remain and you're engaging in a restart for what you know is not important? Maybe you're losing 5-0. They just scored their last goal. There's 10 seconds left. Are you going to give those 10 seconds to the player to finish the match with the ball live? Or would you just conclude the match saying, we're going to buy this bit of time for the next game and continue? Do we have that right? Do we have that discretion to call a match when the ball is out of play or when you feel it's inappropriate? Do you think players, I mean, it probably changes from person to person. Some people, if they have 1-2 seconds, they still want to play their game of polo that they played for and paid for. So
I think it also depends on like if the time schedule of the tournament is already late.
that's right. A referee wants to take into account the conditions at a given moment. Right.
Usually I just ask like the losing team, like, do you want to have the 10 seconds?
Yeah.
You're not going to win again, but do you want to?
I understand the fact
to finish on a goal. On a shot, maybe dangerous. Do you try something difficult in 3 seconds and be dangerous for someone?
Indeed.
I think you can stop the game.
Yeah,
It's your discretion.
But when you do this, maybe you're losing a little bit the fairness of the game. Because if you take decisions, for example, you told earlier to add some time or not if the game is bullshit. So maybe you may lose maybe fairness.
That is such a wonderful point.
Because if I want to play my 10 seconds, I don't know. If just the ref says, I know, you don't give a shit, you don't feel good as a player, you don't feel respected, you just want to finish your game. And I understand the players that want to play the whole game, even if you're losing.
That's a very, very good point. And it's something that we hope we all take away from the ref camp, is that in French we have an expression, l'exception fait la règle. Can we translate that into English for our English speakers?
Way.
What does that mean?
Exception makes the rule.
That is correct. The French say the exception to the rule is what defines the rule, in a sense. What they're trying to tell us is that all of the rules that we live by, there's always a situation where it's appropriate to not respect the rule. Okay? And we use the deontology of a referee to decide when we want to break the rules. I'm ending the game now. Everybody's pissed. There's 10 seconds left. There's a clear winner. Or, oh, the time's up. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds because I know I was late on starting the clock again and I accidentally, or I was early, I forgot to stop the clock and robbed 30 seconds from the last 3 minutes. It's going beep, beep, beep. I'm like, okay, I got it. And in my head, I'm like, I'm going to give them an action or two more to make up for this kind of mistake I made. Now, that's a referee style. I like to try to make up for my mistakes. Sometimes I will even sacrifice fluidity for fairness. And that is to say, I missed a call. And then there's the sideline rest, like, you missed that one. And then somebody else comes in, and it's 20 seconds later. And I'll blow the whistle. Nobody knows what's going on because it's 20 seconds after the foul was committed. And I was like, so yeah, yesterday he did a thing. And it was difficult. I was deciding and I was thinking. And now I feel like it was a foul. I'm sorry that it wasn't fluid. I'm sorry that it wasn't good communication. But it's fair. Okay? We want to be able to apply these to all of the rules that we're doing. Any more closing remarks? We'll take another 10-minute break, and then I will begin on communication.
During finals, the match is always really long. because players always ask the ref why he does that, I do that.
This issue is going to be addressed by Alejandro Carillo tomorrow. His subject is going to be on difficult games, high stakes, high skill level, or equal skill level competitive matches in those kinds of conditions.
Just talking about time and different things, I'm curious if we are going to speak at any point during the weekend about maybe examples or ideas to where to position the refereeing area during your tournaments. Are we going to do that maybe, or
are you talking about along the court, or
like where do you position the refereeing area? Where do you position the stuff like beer area? Like
no,
like
that's a good question
because that really influences. In my opinion,
it's a very good question. I will say that it is beyond the scope of this ref camp to be talking about the full logistics of a tournament. Maybe one of you need to create an event where this is how you plan a good tournament, and you invite people and teach them. But you're right; these kinds of things have implications as well. Yes, within the scope of the referee camp, we will talk about such things about a referee that has good visibility, not only with the players but also the goal refs. Tips and tricks in order to promote good communication with your goal refs so that they are used to their maximum potential. That's a good question. Okay, a little 10-minute break, guys. Starting the clock. All right, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. Extra time after? Yeah, starting the clock here. No stoppages. No stoppages of time with the cigarettes. Extra time.
Quoi? Ça a été déjà ça tout à l'heure? Ouais. Ah ouais? J'ai l'impression que c'est... ouais, non, c'est là.
Meilleur, on a marqué plus tard.
Ça, il remet la pression. Moi, ce que je voulais dire, c'est que pendant les comme ça apporte de la tension dans le jeu. Les gens savent que s'ils passent leur temps à parler, ils perdent dans le jeu. Du coup, le fait de ne pas arrêter le temps, ça t'apporte. Quand tu perds, tu l'as perdu. Du coup, je trouve ça bien, c'est si tu as deux timers, c'est-à-dire que le deuxième, tu le lances à partir de... En gros, tu as 12 minutes devant et tu commences. Celui avec lequel tu vas arrêter le temps, c'est que
Et tu dis non, tu pars et elle nous fait l'assistant, on a trouvé des goal rats en qui, on a tapé un truc. Après, on voit approche pour regarder ça. Voilà l'ensemble, on va se poser au terrain là, on va exécuter quelques matchs. Et quand tu arrives, c'est autorité directe. Tu commences à citer, il y a des gens qui assistent.
Et tu vois, pour le coup, moi je trouve qu'au France, ça a plutôt bien roulé, tu vois, parce que déjà il y avait trois headrefs que j'avais pas eu le temps de faire. C'est à Montpellier. Et en fait, on avait fait. Je me rappelle pas s'il y avait un truc très spécial, genre tu aurais fait 2 matchs après, je suis même pas sûr. Par contre, il y avait 3 headrefs qui étaient là que pour effet. Et du coup, au final, bah, tu sais, les petits moments de trou, là, ça aidait pas mal. Et après, ça a vachement roulé. Et puis, enfin, tu vois, l'investissement refing, il était bien en quoi. Et c'est aussi parce que c'était énormément d'équipes.
pratique?
Ouais, je pense, ça dépend sur quoi.
Il faut que extensions install. It's not my computer, but here we go. There's no password walls.
It's possible that you have to use Chrome for this, maybe. It's the Google Workspace Marketplace, so
Perhaps.
maybe.
What is it? Edge now? No, this Chrome. I don't have Chrome on this computer.
Or you can try them. Let me check if it works.
It should just work with Google Slides, not necessarily Google Chrome browser. Maybe I can get my computer to do it. I need a USB-C plug.
Yeah, it says Firefox is compatible with. It's just Internet Explorer. It doesn't work with it, but it should work.
It's just not wanting to because it's this computer, and this computer is what it is.
That's weird.
Who has a Wi-Fi charger?
A Wi-Fi charger?
Yeah, I mean not Wi-Fi charger, a telephone charger with USB-C on it.
It's gotta be everywhere, right?
There's a few ones here, but they're all plugged. Maybe this one you can see
The iPhones. Les sondages. C'est à Nice, c'est pas bien. Ouais. Et
et l'autre en face dans le
Mine is installed. I'm going to get going
Ouais,
on
c'est sûr
Wi-Fi
qu'après,
with
tu
USB.
peux en avoir. Le mieux, c'est 3 caméras, une comme ça et une au milieu.
So let's see here. Thanks for trying. If I do this, and then I do, and I say,
Tu veux finir à quelle heure là, à midi?
avant 1 heure, on est bon.
Ok.
Partage de connexion via USB. Là, c'est fait. Là, email.
Das ist jetzt gerade nicht möglich, ich muss mir das noch kurz aufmachen.
Ça va bien. Je vais brancher le mien pour remplacer le câble. Il n'y a pas d'extension pour les sondages.
Ah, scheiße. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire?
Il faut le télécharger, mais je l'ai fait. Enfin, sur le lien, il est dessus. Je vais juste le lancer pour voir si ça marche. Donc,
Et t'as pas mis le...
oui, il faut que je l'affiche.
Eh, mais toi, t'es en léger.
C'est pas ça là? On a essayé, je crois que t'as une bonne. La question, et puis on a cette.
Là, ça doit marcher. Ouais, le café là.
Ah, les activeurs à bloc et pour les
Attends, je vais essayer un truc. Ça va lui faire plaisir d'être sur vrai.
Ah, super! Moi,
Okay, do we have everyone? On peut commencer, we can begin. We're going to just take 5 more minutes. There's some interactive slides that we would like for you to be able to post up on, but if we don't make it work, then we'll be just fine anyway. We'll see. Tech support here.
Vous en y allez.
C'est beau, mais c'est ferme. C'est comme plastique en fait. Là, ce que j'avais j'avais la même chaise que celle qui me va. Je les déteste. Ah ouais? J'étais toujours en train de faire ce qu'ils sont faits. Ah ouais? Les brides, ces chaises. Faut essayer sur un autre navigateur. Elles sont faussement belles.
Ouais, c'est pas grave. Ça pour demain. So, all right, last little presentation before we have lunch and play some polo today. This is my passion when it comes to being a referee. Clear and efficient communication. Clear and efficient communication is going to help you with having authority and control of the match. So, today, what I hope that we get to do today is that we will brainstorm on how to create a script or rules to follow or highlight more tips so that communication is clear with the referee between the ref and the organizers, the ref and the players, and the ref and the other referees, like your goal referees. So, if you... How do we communicate? This is how. Huh? And each one of these are useful for different tasks. We want to use the right means of communication at the right opportunity. When I first started reffing a lot of games, I was doing this one a lot. Okay? I was talking a lot. I was, in fact, using so much verbal communication in my matches that I had a destroyed throat at the end of just about every tournament where I was implicated in reffing. This means of communication is oftentimes the easiest and the most effective when you have something you want to communicate. But it's not always the best. It's not always the best for the fluidity and for communication. So we're going to try to highlight these and discuss how each one is used. We don't, that's funny, Joe. Thank you. Excellent. No smell or touch in order to communicate information to players. Okay, so what are we using auditory communication for? The sounds, the voice. We have the whistle. We've got verbal communication. And what I call bells and gimmicks. What are bells and gimmicks that we sometimes employ in the tournaments? Any ideas? Yes? Advantage with the cowbell. What else do we have?
Do you do like this? Like, are you ready? Like,
yeah, that would be one of these visual kinds of communication. Bells and gimmicks. Yeah, it's really just this advantage issue, which is one of the most complicated parts of our reffing.
Sometimes auditory also, if we have the screen that also takes the time and the scores, they also do the beep 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 when it's the end.
Yes, and that's a fantastic visual tool to have at your disposition. On parle de chrono qui est affiché et tout le monde peut la voir.
It's also auditory.
It's also auditory, as that machine will often make a sound. Okay, and for visuals, we've got our eyes.
What is whistle? C'est quoi ça?
Whistle, c'est siffler. Pardon, le sifflet. Communication verbale. Et puis, tous les autres moyens qui font du bruit, a priori, pour communiquer. Pour l'avantage, des fois, on a une cloche. Mais moi, c'est toujours moi qui crie avantage, sans arrêt. Bref. I just like to say advantage over and over. Whenever I feel like they're forgetting its advantage, I'll remind it by saying it some more. Visual contact. Hand signals. Eye contact is a very powerful one as a referee. Referees employ a lot of body communication. Implicit things in order to manage communication with the players on the field. And yes, the scoreboard, as we were mentioning, the scoreboard which is keeping the score and being maintained by the assistants. Sometimes you have a nice scoreboard that just works great. Sometimes you have a scoreboard that is blowing in the wind and now you're worried. You don't remember the score, you switch sides and now the score is incorrect. It just happened to me in the Montpellier Open. I had two teams to switch sides. I forgot to switch the score. And then Ben, who's like, actually, I think the score is different. I think we're losing 2-3, not winning.
And actually, correction, he was winning 2-3. He had forgotten himself. When I switched scores, the switched sides of the court, it was 2-2. It was a tie game. I didn't need to adapt that visual aid. But because I was thinking of other things, it induced a mistake. It wasn't a big one. The team captain said, Ben, shut up. We're winning 3-2. And luckily he was there, because otherwise I would have, made a pretty critical mistake as a referee in terms of fairness. So, next slide. Thank you. The whistle. I like to talk about the whistle because I've seen some good ones and some bad ones. Let's talk about the ones I don't like first. The ones I don't like is when you don't have one. That's not a good whistle. Hey, all of this, never are you going to be able to communicate effectively unless you have a whistle. Another kind of whistle that we see, which is very practical, hygienically speaking, are these. Has anybody experimented with these kinds of whistles?
Yes. The COVID whistle.
The COVID whistle. What is your takeaway? How do you feel about this whistle?
It's a little bit delayed, but I like it because I also understand when people don't want to use all the same whistle on their mouth. So
absolutely, it makes total sense. We're living in an epoch where hygiene and safety is a priority, and if we're all sucking on the same whistle, that's just not cool. Now, that's great for these. What's the issue with them? What's the issue with these? You can't hear them. It's one little blast. Yeah. You can't. The way you blow your whistle needs to be dynamic, depending on the situation. Okay. Because the way you blow your whistle will communicate to players how you feel about something. Maybe somebody gets a huge check. Okay. Maybe Dodi gets checked in the back by Silvio, and it's a major penalty. If I'm just like beep, just like advantage, then I might have some trouble. So the way you implicate, like if you yell advantage in an intense means they're going to engage in an intense way. If you blow the whistle for a big foul, blow a hard whistle so that they understand implicitly what the impact of your call is going to be. So try to avoid these as a referee. Good referees, good whistles that we like. Does anybody have a particular whistle that they really enjoy?
In Zaragoza, one of our group members developed a 3D scanner prototype.
He's printed some whistles.
Yeah, and he printed a lot of them, and they are really strong. Yeah, I think you know them. Yeah. And they are really cheap.
That's
so
wonderful.
We can share that file if anyone has.
I would like to order 30 of those whistles and have them shipped here tomorrow if possible, and give you each a whistle that would be made in the Polo.
Polo from EHBA2023 did some whistle.
Yeah.
I already tried it. It's the same. It works.
Maybe every player should have his own.
whistle.
I will
Next year for practical.
Yeah, with the lessons.
Share that in the Telegram.
Now, what's also kind of fun about the whistle in particular is that it's part of cycling culture. Some I'll say discerning bike messengers, rather than having ding ding, which is kind of similar to squish squish, they want to whistle in their mouth because they're in Manhattan and you can be murdered by a car. So they want to whistle and they want to blow it for safety. So it's a part of cycling culture as well. And good whistles I like is your whistle, that's yours, that no one else is going to blow on, that you take pride in, that maybe you found at an antique shop or a brocante or a vide-grenier that has a particular sound that doesn't sound like every other whistle that you come by. Because when you have a tournament with many games, courts, sometimes courts are back to back in order to support each other. Now you have whistle blows from the neighboring court that can influence your match, and you want to be able to differentiate. These are good. Now, I also very much favor the Fox 40. Fox 40 is a brand, it's a Canadian brand that's been making whistles since the 70s, and they are the standard internationally for professional team sports arbitration. Those whistles you can blow in a stadium, and everyone will hear the whistle blow
in the stadium. Now, why did I quit using my beautiful purple Fox 40 that I love?
Because it hurts your ears.
That's exactly right. It's because every single one of my assistants, I caused damage to their ears.
And your own as well, but you didn't.
That's right. So there's an upper cap to how effective you want your whistle to be. You want it to control your match, and you don't want it to be a nuisance for your assistant refs. So find a compromise. Find your whistle. Be proud of it.
Find your whistle.
All kinds of different styles. What do we use the whistle for? What kind of communication are we going to use the whistle for? We have our list, right? Goals scored. Blow the whistle when a goal is scored. It's not always necessary, but you should.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay?
Makes
That
it
is
better, no?
That is clear. Because what if a goal is scored but you don't want to count it? And you haven't been blowing the whistle anyways.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I'll give you an example, a shuffle goal that you want to refuse. Or maybe a foul is committed directly after the goal is scored and you decide to refuse the goal for unsafe play.
Oh, so you whistle to catch attention? And then you
Well, what I'm saying is if you've set the precedent by not blowing your whistle regularly after each goal, when you don't blow your whistle after something that isn't a goal, the players don't know.
But you need to stop the game anyway, no? If it's a shuffle in the goal, you stop the game. If it's a goal and a foul, you stop the game. So you need to.
That's a very good point, right? Actually, the whistle blow is for any stoppage of play, but also the start of play, right? That's when we're going to use it the most. So any stoppage, you're absolutely right. It's not just a goal scored, but it's just about any stoppage of play, okay?
We have an issue like this next week. Past week in Montpellier, like Benji was refereeing a game. There is, I don't know, a goal or maybe a foul, and he did a whistle. And for him it was, okay, you know there is a foul, but it's not the point. You have to whistle every time.
The game
every
kept
time. Yeah.
playing, playing.
Yeah, we stop, we don't really know, and we are talking with Alejandro after, we say, you have to whistle every time, not saying, you know the foul, you know there is a goal. It's not the point. You have to whistle
Every time. So to differentiate the goal scoring whistle blow from the other stoppages is that sometimes you really don't even need to because the goal was so evident, everyone's celebrating, off of you go. But the referee that is trying to promote good communication will blow that whistle the moment he confirms with his goal ref that the goal is valid. Okay? And we want the players to have the habit of also hearing a whistle blow, the goal is valid. Okay? Yes?
Yeah, also I want the player to, stop playing when I blow the whistle. And if I don't blow the whistle, that means the game hasn't stopped.
That's right.
Yeah,
If you don't, we want our players to play the whistle and not whatever has happened to them on the court. Okay? So we need to, this is one of the most powerful communication tools.
Can you think about like different whistles, like you say, goal score is one whistle, a foul is two whistles, a big foul is three whistles?
Very good. This is excellent. You're segueing right into what I wanted to mention. The nature of the whistle blow, and what kind of communication do we need to include for even more clarity? As we mentioned, what if after the ball goes in the goal, you blow the whistle anyway? You blow the whistle even if it's not a goal because the stoppage has happened, right? So how are we communicating with the referee that this is a whistle blow that means it's a goal, and this is a whistle blow that means there's a foul? Well, unfortunately, it's not going to be blow the whistle twice. It's going to be more effective if we add a different kind of visual information. What is a common visual information we use to say no goal? No goal. No goal. The goal ref doesn't. The main ref goes, no. You blow the whistle, no goal, and you communicate what the foul is for the restart. But you're going to blow the whistle both times. Whereas, what would be the visual communication that you want to employ if the goal is awarded? What's your personal style? I know what I like to do. What do you guys like to do?
Who does what when they have a whistle blown for a goal? What do you do?
Raise the hand to the side, where they score the goal.
Okay, so so let's say situation, a goal is scored on the left, okay, and I'm the referee. I blow my whistle, and what's the visual that you want to include?
Your side. Raise this hand.
This?
I do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something
goal
you
over
have to
here
do or someone else
okay.
does that.
Any other ways? What do people? Some people have like a go back to your side of the court. You scored a goal. Go get ready to defend.
Yeah, shows the goal, like in ice hockey, like this.
Yes.
Go and then.
I've caught myself pointing to the goal. Goal scored. I don't know if that's very good, but my particular favorite, the person I point to, it's my goal referee. I'm gonna say let's use my communication. If a goal is scored on the left side of the court, I'm not blowing my whistle right away. I wait for confirmation from my goal ref, and then I point, and both of us are looking at each other like, "Fuck yeah, that was a goal." Like, no problem. And I'm pointing at the goal referee, and if they're wondering what I'm pointing at, I'm pointing at another official that has the responsibility and the authority to declare a goal valid or otherwise, and you're implicating your goal refs with this kind of visual. Now, I'm not saying do it that way, but I'm saying think about what you're doing with your visual cue that accompanies a whistle blow. Fouls. This is where we can have some variation in the whistle. Sometimes it's stop. Other times it's just a really quick whistle blow, high stick. You have to decide what is comfortable for you. Usually it's just going to happen. You're going to blow the whistle based off of your own intuition, but keep in mind that the whistle is dynamic, and it's an interesting tool. We can vary how we blow it, but I don't know, and maybe you're right, do we really need to codify how the referee uses his communication tool in our sport where everybody has their own style? Yes?
I think we need to, because as a player it can get confusing. Like as a player, I would like all the refs to ref the same.
That's the ideal. This is what we're all going. Refereeing is going somewhere, and we're going to help it get there. Someday there will be no discretion. There will be no questions. It'll just be execute the law of the sports to the letter as best as you can, like in soccer. But we're not there, right? Football. So. Timeouts, ball in and out of bounds, all of this stuff, these are all stoppages of play, aren't they? Yes?
Could you explain again with fouls? Because when it's advantage, I'm not whistling. Because,
Very good. So we can't use the whistle to signal an advantage, can we? That would be inappropriate. It's used to stop play.
Actually, the game would stop, but it's not stopping.
That's right. So we need to formulate how do we want to communicate advantage to our players, assuming that we haven't been given a gimmick, a bell, or some other specific tool, like a flag. Yes? I yell. It's not the easiest. Some of us have smaller voices. Traditionally, we've also talked about the referee who just keeps his hand in the air as a visual representation of advantage being in play, and the hand comes down when advantage comes to an end. Now, I've been up there for 2 minutes being like, this is the last time I'm doing this. So I don't know if this is the most effective visual communication, and we're going to work on it. We're going to try to think of better ways altogether in an activity soon. Alice, on peut faire le prochain
Also, if you are playing advantage, you don't want to be looking at the ref. It's better to have a bell.
That's true.
Spirit.
Yes. We want, and you know what? I expect that advantage is becoming more and more clear. We'll talk about it as a game mechanic. It's very complicated. We want to talk about the players who foolishly ask who has advantage. They should be able to determine who has advantage by just looking at the situation. And either way, they don't need to stop playing to know this.
Just speaking of it, I think it might be a good idea at the end of the camp we might have some points for tournament organizers what they have to provide for a ref. Maybe we can do a list or something.
Yes, if we can think of the best materials that are available.
A cowbell is a pretty expensive musical instrument. So maybe we want to find something else, all right? But moving on to verbal communication. Yes, this is a very expensive means of communication for your body, okay? What are we using it for? We're always using verbal communication to communicate time remaining. So, just to come off of Annalie's talk about time remaining, would anybody like to share what they feel is a good practice to communicate time remaining and what the priorities should be when you're trying to communicate time remaining? Just one hand. We got the straight A student over here. Do we have any? Who's somebody who hasn't participated very much orally yet? I'm a math teacher. I can't help it. No? Gregor.
Only thing that comes to my mind is maybe sometimes language. Like when you have a tournament where people have different languages.
What language are you speaking? English or French? Absolutely. That's a question you need to ask yourself, for sure. For sure. Very good. What else? How do we communicate time reminding?
I always do it in a double way because in the beginning people are in the game and they didn't hear it, so I do it twice that they understand it.
It's really hard to communicate verbally when the ball is in play. Players on the same team have trouble communicating verbally when the ball is in play. We're all looking at it. We're all trying to play it. There's a lot of noise. It's very difficult to hear any kind of reflection the refs make when the ball is in play. So, when we are announcing time to players and the ball is live, we don't want to just follow the rules super strict. I'm going to do it at this time and then I'm going to do it at this time. What do we want to do? What's a better practice for communicating time remaining?
Maybe in moments where there's a bit of silence, like when there's a foul, when there's
Absolutely.
a goal.
We want to choose an opportunity to communicate time that is not clutch, so to speak. You don't want to bark at them the time remaining when they're trying to slalom the last defender and put an awesome goal in. It's wasted effort to communicate time at that time. Yes.
I also think it's good to like not stress too much about like the precise time. Like don't give seconds, round it to the next half minute or something.
That is
like,
very good.
The players on the court, they're not gonna, they don't have wristwatches or anything.
And I do that all the time. Within the 20 seconds, I will round it to either and a half or a whole minute. I'm not going to say and 53 seconds unless it's the last seconds of the match, and maybe that is interesting information.
Or if it's a stoppage of play or something.
If it's a stoppage of play and you have the time and the volition to say the exact time, that's fine. But just because you fudge it a little bit, what you want to get into the heads of the players is a general idea of how much time remaining.
Sometimes I wonder if we should have like megaphones or something for the referees. I think like for me personally it would make a great comfort to not have to yell all the time, just have a machine that yells for the final games when there's the crowd, there's the music, no one's gonna hear you. I think that would be great, but that's on the tournament organizers.
Absolutely, that would be a good useful tool to save my throat anyways, from communication. It's a very good one. Advantage, talked about it a little bit. The restart, we're talking about restart. This part right here is the thing that I would love for us to study closely because it's so closely intertwined with the timekeeping and stealing from players.
I think this is also the part where verbal communication and communication with ref goes wrong the most times, at least in my experience. Like usually when I whistle a foul or something, everyone hears it, but the crossing the line at the right point, some teams have a really hard time doing that. So.
That's right. There's a lot of mechanics going on with the restart. Il y a beaucoup de choses qui se passent pendant ce redémarrage. Okay? Peut-être que tu étais en train d'expliquer un faute. Maybe you're communicating verbally the foul. It's nature. Or visually. T-bone, if you have one. But this verbal communication at the restart, this means it's verbal communication when the ball is not in play. This can sometimes be an opportunity to say, Remy, watch the high stick. I saw it earlier. This is a verbal communication. That isn't a foul, but helps control the attitude of the game. doing those kind of interactions like, hey, keep your bike off of the, watch the elbow, it can work as well to say it in the match when the ball is live, but you got to know that player's name, you've got to know how to speak their language, and you've got to be clear and concise and say it when they'll be able to hear you, right? So, yes.
But during a restart, if you talk to player, you stop the time, or you take the 10 seconds to the score team to replace, and during this 10 seconds you say careful, or you are.
I don't think you should be stopping the time anytime you want to make a What you want to make that verbal communication while also respecting the fluidity of the game and not stealing time from players. It's a bigger priority than explaining to them what their foul was so that they're happy or warning them about behavior.
What's everybody's feelings and opinions about these, like, watch your mallet, or so, like these warnings that are not actually a foul? Because I sometimes think I don't really like them. Like when I play, I think like either you whistle or you, like either it's a foul or it's not. Like
il propose, ça suffit un petit peu avec arrêter de faire cette faute. Faut juste siffler la faute, c'est-à-dire que tu la vois. Et l'idée, like enough with warning people about the foul they committed, be authoritarian and make a sanction. This is a stylistic choice, and I understand what you're talking about. I think it depends on the referee. I have a very loud and big voice, and I like to use this kind of communication whenever things are close but I can't call it, or I don't feel comfortable making the call, but I want that player to stop doing that. I'll try to influence their future play. And even if they don't listen to me, or maybe they didn't hear, hopefully their captain heard. Because when I do call the foul, and it's a very small thing, maybe their front mallet just barely hit the front wheel of the player. Your mallet isn't supposed to hit the front wheel of a player's bike. But it's such a small foul that you might not blow it because you're favoring fluidity. Well, when you are calling those little fouls, sometimes a player can be upset. It's like, that was nothing. Well, I gave you a warning, and this is kind of the second time it's happened. So this is how I tend to use that kind of verbal communication. It's also about justifying and validating my authority in the decision I made. It's like, yeah, I gave you a warning. No reaction. So yeah, it's a little call. I'm sorry it's your third foul and you take 30 seconds for it. I hate to give you a crease foul that when the ball wasn't even under attack, but you were in the crease and I gave you a warning. Those kinds of auditory communications I like to use in my matches. And we'll talk further about it when it comes to calling fouls and controlling the general feeling of a match, especially the competitive ones.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said for advantages before, you shouldn't explain the advantages to the player because they should know what has happened and who is the advantage for. And I'm completely lost. All the time there's an advantage, I have no clue why, what's going on.
Could you start over? I didn't understand the...
When there's advantage for one team.
When there's advantage accorded to a team.
Yeah, personally from all the tournaments I've done, I'm completely lost. Maybe because I don't know the rules really well, but I feel like the ref should explain advantage to this team.
We'll address this, and I know that it's not possible. But
at least you know which team has advantage. Because sometimes it's just advantage, and you have been turning around, you haven't seen the action, so you're like,
do they have advantage? When we're talking about game mechanics, we'll talk a little bit about advantage. But the discerning bike polo player, when advantage is called, one of two things happens. Either you try to go score, or you do everything you can to get the ball. That doesn't really change too much how you play when there isn't advantage. So the idea is, when advantage is played, a player should just know that they need to keep on playing. And if they don't know who has advantage, then they need to use the context clues of the match. Do you have possession and its advantage? It's your advantage.
So then you need to find out.
That's right.
What's going on? Maybe you're on goal, and if you knew you had advantage, you would just go.
Exactly. I hear there's advantage. I look at my player. My teammate has the ball. It's advantage. I can score. I don't have the ball. It's advantage.
I got to get the ball. I got to get the ball. It is the responsibility of the players to become comfortable with advantage, which is so prevalent in our sport, so that the referees are not encumbered with trying to communicate the nature of a foul or to who gets the foul when the ball is in play.
I mean, you have to. Why did we even introduce this advantage rule? It's because you don't reward player fouling. Like you do a defensive foul and the game gets stopped and you get out of this situation, then that's a bad thing. So the advantage is because you want the game to continue, or you don't want people who's in possession not lose it because of a foul.
Right.
So.
It's the responsibility of players to understand how to play optimally when there's advantage. And besides, a referee does not have the tool in their back pocket to ask a referee a question.
No, but just
so
when the referee say it's an advantage, you are refereeing a game, there is a foul, the ball is between two players, you don't have to say nothing, and just waiting for players to take the ball.
Right.
If the offensive one, you can take advantage. Maybe it's more clear. You know, if your teammate who have the ball, the referee say advantage, you can get out the goal. And if the opposite, it's not your team, so you have to going back. So the time when the referee say advantage, I think it's a really important thing to the fluidity of the game and the comprehension of the situation.
Yeah. It's good to say you have to learn it yourself. It's a good point.
When you say it's an advantage or not.
The last little remark that I want to make about verbal communication, of foul IDs, and this thing, which has already been brought up a little bit, and I'm going to address before moving to the next slide. Foul ID, I don't really know the names of all the fouls, and if you look at the rules, there are fouls that you don't really hear. Slapping, what is that? I don't know. Bike interference, does that mean blocking? Does that mean screening? Does that mean my mallet was on the ground and somebody rolled over it? We don't have signals for all of these things. But let's talk about, these kinds of foul ID, I find it's much more effective to have a visual ID to implicate if you want for clear communication, the nature of a foul, like whale tail or dolphin slap, whatever it is that your community is using, or T-bone foul, okay? Toppling, these are kind of symbols that we want to develop and have in our repertoire so that we can use them comfortably to communicate non-visually and save the throat from work. We want to use all the other parts in this last as a referee. Finally, verbal communication. What is the problem with asking questions when you're a referee?
Completely undermines your authority.
You have no authority, okay? Now, the are you ready kind of, I want to say, script that a lot of referees do is because everybody wants to be ready before they play. We've all been scored on when we're not ready, and it's not fun. We want to protect them. And also, when we ask questions, we are naturally, psychologically polite. We want a response to our question. And now we're waiting. Okay? We don't want to wait on the players. And it's only in incredibly rare situations that you're going to ask anybody any questions. What kind of questions do you ask a team? Anybody know off the top of your head? What kind of a question might you ask a team?
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Yeah. Who is your captain? What's the name of your team? What's the name of this player? Maybe, worst case scenario, who scored that last goal? Maybe in a really bad scenario, who's winning? It can happen. Yeah. So, exactly. Did you shuffle the ball? In fair play and in some environments, it is okay because of the attitude and the comfort of the team and the players and the referees. But bottom line, the referee does not ask questions to the players. The referee communicates the state of the game. He communicates how much time is ready to play. He communicates that the ball is in and out of play. He communicates that the time has stopped or started. He communicates the end of the game. He doesn't ask questions, really. So that's something that we want to try to eliminate from restart procedures and things like that. Something to keep in mind. Yes.
Like don't say how you ready. Let's
Yes.
say 10 seconds to be ready.
Ouais, voilà. Tu vas pas poser une question est-ce que tu es prêt, tu vas communiquer le temps qui reste pour qu'il soit prêt. Et s'il n'est pas prêt, c'est tant pis pour sa gueule. Il demande un time-out. S'il se plaint, j'étais pas prêt, tu réponds, bah si t'es pas prêt, tu demandes un time-out. Okay, thank you. Moving on. So this is a slide that was hoping to be interactive, but we'll just do it on the board here. In terms of verbal communication, what are we hearing refs say a lot? Just yes.
Je sais pas, j'ai pas vu.
I don't know.
Non mais j'ai pas vu.
Ouais, I don't know.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. What you got? You got elbowed in the face? I didn't see it. That's a big one. Yeah. What else?
I don't have a goal ref.
I need gold refs.
I'm alone. I can't see. I'm sorry.
I need an assistant.
Yeah,
I need an assistant.
I need a whistle. I need a beer.
What's the score? Who has the time?
Also, what I hear often is either nothing or a game on when there's like a close situation and the ref wants to signal there was no foul there, keep playing.
Nothing. Play on.
Let the ball roll.
Live. You're down. When do we tell them you're down?
When they lean against the goal.
Very good. This is a huge abuse in our sport, and you need to tell your goal refs because it's one of the rare situations where players will be dabbed and not respect the rule of law. You're down. You did not tripod correctly. If they're tripoding him, it can be as little as that. You can be strict, okay, with that. But the thing is that their foot didn't touch the ground. So they don't even really know if they're down or not because there's plenty of referees that will let you put your foot in the goal to do a raclette.
What?
It'll happen. Yes, it's happened.
No, that's bad style. We put them together with the shuffle. You keep your foot on the pedal.
Keep it down. Exactly. My point is, I've lost my point. What was my point?
Leaning against the goalpost.
Yes, it's a player is down, but they won't go dab. They need a goal ref or a referee to say, "Hey, you are down." Once you've communicated to them that they are down, if they don't do what people that are down do, then you can sanction them. Okay?
Or signal an advantage, maybe.
Exactly. Or signal advantage, right? Very, very good. Very good. Okay.
Even in the worst case, a water goal. If the other team takes a shot on the goalie and the goalie did lean against the goal, the goalie was dabbed, so it's a goal.
Very good. There's just a quick remark. In the rules, it does stipulate that if the goalie adjusts the goal because it has moved from its position, this is acceptable. And this is within the fluidity, fairness, and all of the, big ideas that a referee wants to bring to the court. Hey, if that guy can, and whatever, that's okay, right? Maybe not right when they're coming to shoot, but and you'd be a strange goalie if they're like, oh, he's coming. Let me just get this. These kinds of verbal communications you need to study as a referee and consider which ones you want to eliminate from your vocabulary and how to do it. Like, for example, I need goal refs. We're gonna talk about building your team and not being bushwhacked into reffing a game where there's no one, not even the players, and you don't know what's happening. Where are my referees? That's because you didn't prepare your reffing team an hour before and then approach the stand and say, hey, here's my gang. I'm the ringleader. Where do you want us? You'll have a lot more authority when you arrive on scene if everything's under control. So
think about how your verbal communication is being employed. Yes.
How about I didn't see it? Is that okay? I didn't see it. So people sometimes.
Oh, great! That's a good
look,
question.
Look at us.
I didn't see it.
And then, or they complain, and I say I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's my problem with my arbitration, my goalieing, is that I'll just space out and glaze over, and it's like reading a book, but you didn't read the page after you read the page.
Yeah.
And so I have to constantly reinvest myself, and sometimes I do slip and miss things, and I have to be honest. I want to be honest. I don't think we're going to say never say this or that when it comes to I don't know, I didn't see it. This is honest and fair and okay. It's a problem sometimes, but maybe there's a better way to address this with verbal communication that you want the play to continue and that to try to justify why you didn't blow the whistle. Yes.
I think we can have maybe two solutions for I didn't see it. If we have an assistant ref and we divide the roles. When the ball is on your side, I just watch the no ball play.
Off ball play.
Off ball play, and when it's here, I'm looking the ball play, and so you will see more things.
Yes.
If I don't see, you will
So
see. And something else, maybe the nothing or play on. When you say
nothing
that,
happened, play on.
you will avoid hey, touch me, it's that. If you say play on, it's telling the player, I saw, I didn't thought it was a foul. And just, okay, go on. It's nothing, and go on. And you avoid situations like, hey, that's me.
Very good. Justement, juste pour la traduction très vite fait, par rapport à dire, il n'y a rien du tout, continue à jouer. Pourquoi est-ce qu'un arbitre va peut-être décider de faire cette communication verbale quand la balle est en jeu? Peut-être il y a de la confusion, peut-être tu sens que ça va partir en couille et tu veux que le joueur soit occupé avec l'idée de reprendre ton vélo, recommence à jouer, t'as pas le temps de débattre avec moi, le choix est fait, il n'y a pas de peut-être ou autre ou un avantage plus tard que je vais siffler. Play on, play on, play on.
I think the dividing the responsibility with the assistant ref is a really good idea for like big tournaments and like end of tournament high pressure games where you're gonna need also like a really good assistant ref. But in real life, in a tournament, most of the time, in my experience, the assistant ref is like a newbie or a rookie or someone who doesn't really know the rules but kind of wants to
learn
into it, learn or something. So it's someone who feels confident to take the time and to take notes what you say. But most of the time, I think the assistant ref is not present enough to like do that. But
wouldn't it be nice?
For like important games, I think you should get an assistant ref where you know the person is competent and will help you.
And maybe with the scheduling of the referee, if you play a game, you stop, and then there is 8 players who have to ref. You find an assistant ref.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think the takeaway here, as you're saying, is a very good point. It's a very good point. I don't know. Does your goal ref know? Did you ask him? Did you look to see? You didn't see it. Maybe your goal ref did see it. And if he does, he'll react if you put in place good means of communication with your goal ref and good assignment of roles. Like you're saying, the assistant ref that's a bit of a newbie, any newbie can count the crease foul. Any newbie can watch to see if the joust is valid on one side of the court while you watch on the other side of the court. Okay? So, one great way to reduce this, I'm not saying that you shouldn't say this to people. Sometimes that's, listen man, I'm sorry I missed it. I say it all the time. I'm not saying that you shouldn't never say this. You want to try to find means to say this less. Because the less you say this, the more authority you will have. Okay? You know, like, what about that check from behind? Oh, I'm sorry, it happened right in front of my goal ref, and my goal ref was just like
drinking a beer.
Unfortunately, he'll be drinking a beer, but maybe because you approached him, he said, hey, Daph, we're going to goal ref this match. I'm going to give you, like, if you see a foul in your quadrant, don't hesitate. I'm giving you the authority to try to communicate with me. Or if I miss this foul or something that you know I didn't see, we put in place a means of visual communication so that he can tell me to
assign advantage or blow the whistle.
I think it's really important to talk to the goal refs and say what else they have as just seeing if there's a goal or not. I think goal ref is really misleading because sometimes you ask people, can you please goal ref? And people think, okay, they just have to see if there's a goal.
Yes.
But actually it's a corner ref. So
That's right.
So sometimes this is what my takeaway from last year is that a goal ref is not about just looking if there's a goal, but seeing if there's a foul actually, which for my is too far away to see. So what you are saying, I think, is really important to have it. Maybe it's a corner ref, not a goal ref.
Absolutely, this is talking about using the tools of the referee, your team, and we're going to talk about team referee tomorrow and the tools at our disposition, and that's going to be a big part of those kind of talks. It's about making sure your goal refs understand their responsibilities and being comfortable giving them responsibilities, like counting the crease or dabbed players in their zone that you didn't see because they touched the top of the board, or the goalie that is dabbed. There's a lot of room to assign help to your goal ref, but of course the catch, the danger, is that if your goal ref is drinking beers and smoking cigarettes and standing in a crowd of a committee of 6 people, that goal ref is severely inhibited in their ability to make important calls like that. So the discerning referee is going to have good communication and decision making with their team beforehand so that they can reduce how many times this comes out of their mouth, right?
Maybe we can just change the name of the goal ref.
Yeah. Corner ref.
Line
ref.
You're right, goal ref is a bit misnomer.
Yeah.
It's true.
And like it's in Valencia, there is flag, like a red flag and a
green
green
flag. I will watch my flag like, which team?
All the things, but if you raise up the hand, your main ref sees and maybe
it was a good
whistle,
sign.
but maybe you raise the hand and it's not a foul and you just want to talk to but if you have a red flag, it's a foul and just the referee whistle and then he comes see you. It's a big point.
Another remark and then we'll move to the next slide.
Yeah, I think what also maybe it just helps with the feeling or something, but what I saw in some games and I think it was really cool and maybe helped a little bit is like the referee gets together in the middle of the before the game, they get together in the middle of the court with the corner refs and with the assistant refs, maybe the captains, and say, you do this, you watch out, captains, I don't want to see any high sticks or something, only the captains talk to me, have like a little chat, 30 seconds maybe. Makes it, for me, even like as a viewer, feel so much more serious and respectable. Somehow.
Absolutely.
He's the corner ref because sometimes you're not the corner ref.
I feel that in the near future we could take the goal ref responsibility and really develop it further in the sense that, for example, the main referee's tool is his whistle or her whistle. I think, do the goal referees need a tool? Do they need a flag? Because oftentimes when the crowd is there, your goal ref hand goes up with 7 other hands at the same time, and what's happening? Maybe we need to promote a tool that's not a gimmick that the organizers are providing, but instead is your own personal line ref tool. In soccer and football, line refs have one checkered flag, and they have a very codified means of communicating offsides, corner kicks, throw-ins, goal kicks, and goal awarded. They have very specific gestures for all of these.
Just show with the flag.
They're basically corner,
offside,
kickoff. If possession for the throw-in, the throw-in going this way, flags over here, or they never put their flag across the body. They're always gonna, all right, put the flag in the other hand.
Foul for this team or foul for this team.
If a goal is awarded for a goal ref for a line ref in soccer, they're running back up to their line to their starting position because their job is done here. They're signaling that the goal is awarded. If there was an offsides, they're not running anywhere. They got the flag straight up right at the level of where the offsides call was made. This is very, very heavy work. Of course, the main referee makes every decision. But on the Pro League, you will never see a main referee do a contrary call to what the line referee, decides.
But I think when we compare to football and maybe take football a little bit as something to take good practices from, we also need to keep in mind that polo is a very different sport. We have a much smaller court, so we have a lot easier time communicating to the goal ref. We can just walk over there, meet in the middle of the court. Like in football, the court is so big; they have a much harder time communicating. So I think we can show.
Right. We want to take example from the other sports, but we don't want to copy what they're doing. They're doing what they do because it's their sport with its problems. We're going to do what we do because of our sport with our problems. And goal refs are fertile ground where we need to study. We need to think of some ideas of how goal refs can help. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. Another remark? Yes?
Yeah, when you call a readjust because you're not able to fix it, is it like how do you put it out like this when you don't know, when you're like, I don't know, everybody is like confused.
So that there's kind of two situations a readjust might happen. It's when you don't know what happened, and for the sake of fairness, you say, sorry guys, I missed it. I'm not going to afford advantage to anyone, and the ball is not in play. We will rejoust. Second way is when a coincidental foul will take place, which is when two players foul each other at the same time. And that's a very rare and complicated situation. Sometimes one is doing an incidental foul while the other is doing a major foul, or maybe the fouls are of the same danger and importance. Those are complicated situations, but they're very rare. Much more common is you're not entirely sure, but you know it was bad, so you're just going to rejoust. It is a tool that I almost never use it, just out of habit, but it is available for us.
I'm sometimes using it when we change sides because of the sun. Then I talk to the people in front of the game, and I told them, okay, we will change. Of course, we will see that it's a good situation to change. If nobody's on the ball or something like a score or something like that, but we will rejoin.
Very good. That's excellent. If you want to be very strict on the time and make sure you switch it half, and you want that stoppage of play, then a rejoust might come in handy. Whereas I, on the other hand, I prefer to just not necessarily stop it right symmetrically in the middle, but just kind of pick a moment that's close to the middle where clear possession on the defensive side of the court is observable. I'll stop the whistle and they'll be like, what the heck, man? I'll be like, change sides. You keep possession. First I tell them to change sides, and then I indicate who has possession for the restart, because I myself will forget within 30 seconds otherwise. So.
And don't we have also rejoust if there's an advantage and the other team...
Foul on advantage.
Yeah.
Foul on advantage does
Also
induce rejoust, yes.
There's advantage, and the team who has advantage fouls the other team. Then it's also rejoust.
It's two fouls rejoust.
Okay.
But if you don't know or you don't see, the point is interpretation. You can say, okay, I didn't see, but you had the ball, maybe you will find the ball, so I give you the ball, or I give the ball to another team, or I didn't see, sorry for everybody, just rejoust. It's the decision of the ref. You can lose things or miss things, but just be confident of what you say after and what the consequence of your whistle. Rejoust or give the ball to one team or another, but
very good. Okay.
Interpretation.
So I think that pretty much does it for this little verbal aspect. We'll go a little bit faster through the hand signals. Hand signals we need to develop as well, the best ways. Of course, the restart is very exciting because every goal, joust, advantage, etc. entrains some kind of restart of play. So this is really the big one here. Okay. And again, communicating with the goal ref, eye contact and visual communication is best. If you want to talk to your goal ref, then we're getting up, we're walking. It's the dramatic walk over to the goal ref for the consequential call. It's an exciting moment. The ref will be on the court. Now, one thing I like about eye contact as well is that oftentimes with a rejoust, I'm sorry, not with a rejoust, with a restart, in the rules it states that it is the responsibility of the team captain to indicate to his players when they are allowed to cross the line of play, but in practice, in our sport, it doesn't happen that way. It's the person with the ball that is probably going to start play. Okay? Play begins when a player crosses the middle line. The player with possession or not.
Or the ball. The ball. No?
This is a distinguishing factor. If all three of your players are on the defensive side of the court and the ball crosses the middle line, the ball has not started play. It is the players that start play. You cannot take a shot from your goal. You have to have a player cross the line in order for play to start. It's the players. And it doesn't have to be the ball possessor. It can be another player. And sometimes we'll see this happen. You have the 1 point lead, and a player crosses the line over here to start the clock, but the possessor is cheesing the ball and protecting it and keeping it away from the players because they have the advantage and time is running out.
But actually, you can take a shot, it just won't be a goal.
That's
I've had that happen before, that someone from my team took a shot and the ref whistled and told us we did a foul, but we talked it out, and I think you can shoot, you just can't score.
Yeah, what's happened if the ball crosses the line?
Well, the ball wouldn't be live. It's a good question. What happens if your the possessor, it's a restart, it's gone to the other side of the court, maybe on purpose, maybe on accident? This is when a referee starts doing their job and applies fluidity, fairness, and safety. If you see that the behavior is because it's a delay of restart, they hit the ball to the other side of the court, well, now you don't have possession anymore. They have possession. Now I'm going to restart with their possession, and you have a delay of play foul because you're supposed to try to get this game back going again. We have the tools in there, and we'll address them. So what else do we want to talk about? Is eye contact. My point was, I'm sorry, at that restart, the player with the ball often will look at the referee for the cue, right? For when are we ready? When are we ready? When can I do it? And that eye contact will be there. Look for it as a referee. Look for that eye contact with that player, especially if you fear that they might cross the line before the other team is ready, while they still have 10 seconds to be ready. And then you have to redo the restart, and this is very cumbersome and embarrassing and not good. You want the restart to happen well. You don't want to have to blow and say they weren't ready, let's start over, okay? So eye contact with the person that's in control that could potentially ruin your beautifully fluid restart. You want eye contact with them, and you give them the hand signal and says, no, you can't. Or yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. These are all visual cues that you're going to use. Much better, these visual cues than verbal cues. Wait, not yet. Not a great way to try to tell someone not to cross the line. Okay, next slide. What do we got left? So, we need to be heard and understood. And how much we communicate is dependent on the nature of the match. What's the takeaway from this? Is that if you have a match that can be very competitive, maybe you want to think about how you're communicating in order to accommodate that kind of match, be it a high level, be it a low level, be it widely differentiating levels. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, I just wanted to get back to the discussion about the ball crossing the line, because I looked in the official rule set and I compared it to what's saying here, and it actually makes a big difference, because here in the book that you gave, there's nothing about the ball, while in the
there's a line about the ball in there?
Yeah, the official rule set reads, play begins and the clock starts when the ball or a player from the team in possession crosses the half-court line.
Thank you. Okay, that was just a late night misread of the rules. I must have deleted it. in the rules when I was trying to format this. And please, everybody, make that correction in your books right now, and forget what I said earlier. For everybody listening to this 5 years from now, if the ball crosses the line, then the ball or player crosses the line. So does this mean you can score from?
Yeah, it's.
This means in theory.
Actually, about the shot, I don't see the rule about the shot. Like the way I read the rules, I don't see anything that you can't score from your own half.
So I'm thinking maybe you can. If the ball can make the play live, then in theory you should be able to shoot from your side of the court without any kind of defensive measures within the middle of the court. This is a good point. It's very strategic, and Tristan would say this is one of the parts of our rule set that need further study and consideration.
Tu peux pas marquer de ton camp parce que le chronomètre ne commence pas. Quand tu tires. Oui, voilà. Tu peux pas marquer de ton camp parce que le temps, ça ne joue pas avant que tu tires.
This is super.
Enfin, quand tu tires.
Very important remark. Very important remark that near the end of the match, at a stoppage, you stop play, which means that if you take a shot from your side of the court, the ball is being shot when the chronometer is not running. So are we going to start the time the moment the ball crosses the line on its trajectory, I suppose? Or is that exactly the reason why you can't score? Or is it distinctly written in the rules? We'll have to study. Yeah. But so yeah, it's true. Like, why can I position? And in theory, you know, I'm on my side of the court. I might sneakily find an opening, an opportunity. They say they're ready. They don't know that I'm about to shoot, and I'm going to shoot when the clock isn't running, and then it's going to go in and be a goal. This is very interesting and strange issues that a referee has to address, and that our rule sets aren't quite clear on yet. And I've made it just a great deal more complicated by clearly writing the wrong thing in the book. So wait for version 2.0. We'll have it good. Okay.
Number 5.4.
Actually, it looks like we've addressed everything in this slide already in our talk with your wonderful questions. We've talked about good communication and bad communication. Problems with asking questions. We've discussed the question asking issue and how we want to kind of delete this from our behavior. And the challenge of communicating with your goal refs. These are the things we want you to take away for our next slide. Annelise, si on peut. And this we're going to do during lunch, and we'll see what we come up with, okay? Break up into groups, and we want a script or procedure for each of these aspects of our reffing, but putting into respect the right form of communication or the best form of communication. So, I believe we have teams for the tournament this afternoon. We're going to break up, we're going to tell you who your team is, and we're going to give you one of these 6 subjects that need a clear and concise means of communicating with your teams. Does this make sense, these activities? For example, okay, we want a script. On veut une procédure, une script pour chacun de ces 6 parties de l'arbitrage. C'est-à-dire pour, par exemple, the game start, what are all the steps that a referee needs to take in terms of communication for the game start to go well? And I'm not just talking about blowing the whistle when the jousters are ready. I'm talking about the whole 3 minutes around it, okay? For a goal scored, what is the step-by-step gestures that we want for a goal scored? Mine is, a goal is scored. I think it's a goal. First, I look at my goal ref and see if they react, saying it is a goal or it's not. Suppose that it is a goal. I blow my whistle and make some kind of visual towards, you know, whatever I think needs visuals toward. Maybe I'm pointing towards the ref.
Maybe I'm pointing towards go back to the other side to defend. What is best? I don't know. We're going to break it down. And you and your little groups, we want a list of these little steps. The restart, advantage and fouls. These kinds of communication steps are very interesting as well. Goal ref awards or refuses goals. I want some scripts for how can a goal ref that doesn't have any tools find an easy way to communicate to a referee that there was a foul and that an advantage should be called, or there was a foul and the whistle should be blown immediately. There is no advantage. Many times I've tried to call a foul of one of my goal refs and stole advantage from a team because I didn't know where the foul was or who I was calling it for. So trying to hammer out some visual communication techniques for the goal ref. The goal ref only has visual communication at his disposal, unless you come and talk to him. Okay? Goal ref's calls advantage. So, yeah, goal awarded, goal refused. We have these gestures already, and we want you to bring them to the table. We're not trying to reinvent the refereeing styles here. We're trying to pick up what most people do and try to correct it and make it something that a new referee could learn and be like, oh, this is what I do. This. Okay. And then this is going to help with the homogenization of arbitration in the sport. Since everyone participates, we want to create some scripts for that. Okay? And that's pretty much it for the presentation this morning. Is there another slide behind it? No slides, that's it. Very good. Thanks, guys. We're 30 minutes behind, which is expected. So we're going to have lunch. And
what are the teams?
I believe